What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 208 of Heavy Metallurgy. It's Friday. Welcome. Hope you had a good week. I'm Marty. I'm one of your co-hosts here, and I'm joined by the best in the business, the Professor Steele himself, Allan. Good to see you, my friend. How you doing?
Good to see you too, Marty. I'm doing all right. It's been a long week. We're at the end of the semester, so there's a million things to do, but yeah, we're getting through it all okay. Good to be here. We'll have some fun, hang out, take it easy, talk about the music that we all love and enjoy quite a bit. Hello to everybody who's filling in the chat. As a quick heads up, I, for some reason, cannot post in the live chat currently, so apologies. I'm not ignoring folks tonight. When I go to post something, I can see it, but absolutely nobody else can see what I'm posting, including Marty. So we got to kind of debug things, but we'll do that later on. I'll read comments and we'll still get things up on screen for other folks to read, and we'll still reply to them. But I won't be actually posting any replies, typing them out, because you're not going to see what I'm doing. Other than that, we're all good and we're all set. And we've got not one, but two spectacular returning guests to hang out with tonight.
Before we bring them on, though, I do want to say, dropped live today. In the link to the web shop is in the description. We've got 3-inch diameter battle jacket patches with the Heavy Metallurgy logo designed by our friend, Dreadful Rick, who is going to be out here in a minute with us. Mm-hmm. So if your jacket has this little tiny space still left on there, $6, man. It'll hook you up. And if you can't sew like me, they're adhesive backing, so you can just iron it on there, and no one will know. The perfect crime.
Totally cheat.
Yeah, but yeah, just that, and yeah, we'll get into the other stuff later. Let's get these guys on. We got Dreadful Rick. Welcome, Rick.
Hey, Rick.
Good to be back as always.
Aaron, welcome.
Thanks, man. Always a pleasure and an honor.
Yeah, thanks to both of you for joining us tonight. Yeah. We do appreciate it. Marty's been busy editing all week, and I'm trying to grind through the end of the semester. So yeah, it's nice to have like an easy and fun conversation lined up with two great guys.
I got to say, yeah, regarding the editing and stuff, this has been the most uploads in a week in Heavy Metallurgy history. So we've got two reviews up, an interview with Alex from Immolation that Sue and John Verica did, and of course tonight's show, and Wednesday's album club. So there's a lot to go through this weekend. If you got some free time, definitely peruse some of our new content. We've been trying to keep you guys entertained this week, so cheers for that.
Marty's been a slave to the grind with the editing machine.
Yep. But anyway, yes, guys, it's good to see you. First of all, for those of you that didn't catch it, last Friday or last Saturday was the Dreadful Minutes yearly 420 stream. Rick, how did that all sort out? I was in and out. It's a topic that I don't have much. Both of these guys were. Aaron was in on it too. So
he was. I want to thank Aaron for being one of the panelists. It was quite a success. Got a good number of views.
Good.
For a Dreadful channel anyway. As you can tell from the backdrop, I'm stretching this out as long as I can. Well, tonight I'm here, but I could have been watching Cheech and Chong's last movie, which dropped.
Dude, when I saw that movie, it blew my mind. That in fact, I call people man a lot, and I kind of got that from Cheech and Chong, if I'm really honest. and I don't think I would have admitted that in my 20s or 30s, but something. I just don't give a shit about anything anymore.
Mostly from the Tommy side, right? Like, yeah. I feel like Cheech was more the he had the Mexican, mannerisms and vocabulary.
And Aaron also, he put up another mystery polls with the rolled the dice. Was it last night that I was watching it today or yesterday? I don't remember, but what's been going on with your channel?
With my channel? Well, yeah. I'm like 50 subs away from 3,000. So really trying to get to that threshold here. I hate to be sort of crass about it, but it takes a long time sometimes, which I get because the channel has a certain sort of aesthetic and it's not for everyone,
Growing organically is a slow battle on YouTube. It just is the way it goes.
But, I can't complain in any case because the engagement is awesome. It's like, it's not a ton of people who come and watch, but the people who get it, they really get it. and that's fun for me too. Is, interacting with them, bullshitting, and meeting people. It still blows my mind that I know people all over the country from having run this channel.
It is the coolest thing about YouTube. And like I said, I wouldn't be friends with, well, I knew Allan via message boards before all this came to fruition, but Rick and Aaron and all the people that contribute to Heavy Metallurgy, and yeah, it's been a wonderful experience for sure. And of course, all you fine people in the chat, we see you weekly, and it's awesome. You're totally great part of this channel as well.
Some of the best community on YouTube, my opinion.
It really is. And totally
Indeed.
all good to call all of you guys friends in the chat. It's awesome.
Dude, it really is. The chat on this channel, I don't mind saying this, everyone's listening to. The chat is so good that even if the topic is something I just do not give a shit about, if you're talking about like your favorite black metal albums from 1998, I kind of don't give a fuck. But I'll still come and hang out with people in the chat because it's still fun, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. The chat folks bring a ton to the content, and we do appreciate it.
And I'm almost always into the topics too. I always give it a chance. So just well, shit here where I'm already being treated with honor. It's
well, a topic like today is a Hail Mary pass at yesterday, putting out an APB to everybody that contributes to the channel. Hey, anybody want to do a what's spinning with Allan and I? Because we got nothing for Friday. Yep. And these two fine gentlemen answered the call.
They did. Yeah. Some weeks we're just a little too busy to dig into a deeper topic where we got to think it over and pull out a lot of records. And sometimes it's just fun to talk playlists. Since we've been working a lot, we've probably been spinning a lot of stuff in the background.
Yep.
What's up, Noah? Noah, the new bass player for the Glorious Dead. Everybody say hello. Also, Wood Cult, Lanzerath, Oralisk. There's probably more. Northern Spire Productions. Check them out on the YouTube, on the internet. A lot of cool shit he's putting out. But yeah, without further ado, we got 4 of us here. Why don't we dig in and start showing off some stuff? And since you're closest to the top corner, Aaron, we're going to start with you first. Does anybody have anything they wanted to add before we jump into this?
No.
Nope.
It's always fun. It's always a pleasure to be here, man.
We like it too.
It's always great to have you.
We love having you guys too.
We're always listening to stuff, so there's always something spinning, right? So these are always fun. It seems like people enjoy them.
Yeah, totally. When I was getting ready for this too, I'll be honest, I was going through my shit going, okay, I got to listen to this one and refresh my memory in this one. Then I started flipping a little more by the shit that's just over there. And I was like, man, I just listened to all this fucking shit yesterday. I don't need to overthink it like this.
No.
Stress on myself to sound intelligent,
Yep. All right, Aaron, what's your first spin?
All right. Well, I figure I'll start off with a bang. One that everyone on this channel likes to see. So
Bang Tango. Oh.
I thought it was going to be Bang, the actual self-titled Bang album.
I can pull that off the shelf if you want to see it.
I knew you could.
Yeah, all right, man. So we're talking about Blade of the Ronin by Cannibal Ox, which is
I like everything about this so far, and I've never heard of it.
Cannibal Ox.
Well, it's a hip hop record, and
I still like everything I'm seeing at the moment.
dude. I mean, how could I pass this up? When I rediscovered rap a few months ago, I was all excited about it. I heard that there was a band called Cannibal Ox. There was an album by them called Blade of the Ronin, and I was like, I'm all in. My favorite song on here is Iron Rose, which actually has MF Doom on it. Which I thought about, getting into that shit a little bit, but it's just awesome, man. Awesome vibes. The guys rapping is really cool. There are 2 main guys who do that. The one, the main. See, I don't know their names or anything because I'll be research, right? If reading the back of this is kind of too much effort, but it's a fantastic record, man. It has a ton of personality. It's a weird thing. If you've only ever listened to 90s hip hop, this would blow your mind because this is just it's evolved so far past that point that it's just incredible. So,
That's
fun.
You lost me at rap, but everything else looks pretty cool.
That's interesting. Yeah. I know nothing about current hip hop except Jason had something on his channel not long ago with the I Hate Music podcast that they were talking about a couple more recent hip hop artists, and he had some sample video included, and it was actually pretty good. It was an artist called Dochi or Ducci. She's a female hip hop artist from Florida and was actually really good at it. So that's my contribution. That's what I've got.
All right, Rick. Good to see you. What do you got? What's been on your?
Well, you can't be wrong. It's whatever you're spinning is what you're spinning, right?
Exactly. I can't. I don't have much room to talk on some of the shit I'm going to show tonight. So.
Well, you know, there's some stuff I actually didn't pull from the 420 thing I did, right? But you know, there's some stuff that I'm still checking out. And if anybody knows, speaking of rap, Afro Man. This is blatantly rap. It's called crazy rap. So if anybody remembers, Because I Got High was the big leading single.
I actually do remember that one.
Yeah, that's right. Aaron and I conspired. We're gonna kick this off and like do something kind of, because I was telling him like some of the best moments was like the one time like when King Fally was on and like you pull the rap album and like it's hard to put that guy in crickets mode. Like that was it. That's what did it. Like a good minute there. Like he had absolutely nothing to say. But yeah, it's fun. This is just for my early 20s years, and this is what was going on. Jane, Silent Bob. Anybody remember that time? I know people in the chat know. You know, like this is one of the ultimate early 2000s just stoner songs. It's a collection of stuff. Still doing stuff. Afro Man, come on.
That could have been a senior picture in school. Nice smile. I love it.
He's the modern Cheech and Chong. I'm telling you. If you ever see his room, like this guy's, he's the real deal. Like he's all about it, man. Like he's got merch and everything. It's great.
This is what happens when you buy the glow in the dark stoner banner from Temu. You end up getting all of these rap records, pot leaves on them. That's what happens.
It's fun, man.
All right, almost everything else I pulled is metal, though.
That will be it for tonight.
All right, Professor, what you got?
Let me get this damn train back on the tracks before the entire chat just cancels our existence. Here, Repugnant, Epitome of Darkness, Swedish fucking dirty.
I'm going to rearrange my stack a little bit because I didn't put a lot of metal up front. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. I hadn't played this album in a long time, and it still absolutely crushes. This, of course, features Thomas Forsberg. A few years before Ghost would come along. Back then, he was going by Mary Gore. So there he is. A few years earlier. This was recorded in 2002, but didn't get released until 2006. I don't know why there was a 4-year delay. But yeah, very good, raw, dirty sounding black metal, very vicious. This, it came out in a period where I was not paying attention to death metal, but somehow this one did get on my radar and instantly liked it. Somebody sent it to me in a CDR trade. And it was one of those things I just kind of threw in because I guess they dug it. Like, hey, you should at least check this out. I'm just like, okay, I'm not playing much death metal these days, but that is really fucking good. Yeah, as you can, the cover art kind of shows you where this is going to go. It's going to have some sick melodies, some very sick vocals and lyrics. You've got songs like Eating from a Coffin. They're not being subtle here whatsoever. And I did like, they really did sort of play up the theatrics a bit. Not just Mary Gore, but the other guys did too. Went with the more of like a kind of corpse paint look. Really kind of leaned into the whole ghoulish image, which was kind of cool. You don't see death metal bands do that an awful lot. Usually, it's more down to earth kind of look, which is functional but kind of boring sometimes. So yeah, I liked the fact that they kind of went the extra mile to kind of look the part as well as match the covers and everything. Like I said, hadn't played it in ages, broke it back out, and yeah, I've been playing it several times ever since. If folks out there aren't familiar with this or they've dodged it because of the Ghost affiliation, this is nothing like Ghost. Again, this is great primal death metal. Absolutely should check it out.
When did you say that was from? 98, did you say?
It was released in 2006, but recorded around 2002.
Okay.
Simon
yeah,
coming with the truth. Excellent. The Good Ghost album. Yes.
Yep,
I wonder.
that would work.
I wonder how many people into Ghost will move to death metal because of that thing exists. you know?
Yeah.
I
Don't know. Yep. Some folks probably did kind of work their way backwards from Ghost to check out the guy's other stuff. I want to say, I'm checking right now. I don't know if Repugnant did anything else. I don't think they lasted a long time. Yeah, there's like some EPs and splits and stuff, but this was the one and only album that got out. I guess he had already moved on to other projects pretty quickly, which is a shame. Again, I thought they had a really cool vibe, especially for the mid-aughts. I thought it was really neat.
It was a factor of not making as much money, probably. I'm then.
I think, yeah. I mean, whether you like Ghost or not, things definitely worked out better for him in the long term going with that project. I doubt Repugnant would be a household name worldwide these days.
Back in the day when just getting the label distro going, I acquired 10 or 15 copies of their Draped in Cerecloth demo.
Oh, cool.
On cassette, and they sold in like an afternoon. Which for me, I'm just like, what the hell's going on? This band must be huge. I didn't know. It just sounded cool and looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
And who would have known, But all right. Well, I lied. I'm going to just stick with my pile here and get the non-metal stuff out of the way. So I've been in a big post-punk, gothic, industrial vibe and some punk lately. And I've got both of the Bauhaus Volume 1 and Volume 2 releases on CD. Great. And I'm like, you know what? I need to start getting the CDs. So I threw down and got In the Flat Fields and The Sky Went Out. Is that what the name of it is?
I think
The Sky's Gone Out.
Gone Out. Okay.
God damn it, man. This album in particular, this album is so good. It's like there's a filthiness to it. There's moments where there's songs that are pretty. Peter, oh my God, fucking Murphy. Gabriel popped in my head. I'm like, that's not right. Don't even say it. Peter
Green
Murphy
popped into my head.
Yeah, Peter Murphy. His voice is, he could be ethereal and pretty, but there's a bass tone. It's really filthy, and the guitar, very avant-garde way of playing Daniel Ash. There's some really cool, heavy stuff, like the song Double Dare. It's just a droning, heavy fucking song. It's just ugly and nightmarish. Great album. This is just as good too. I prefer the debut, but this is really good as well. I've been enjoying the crap out of these while I've been printing shirts this week. So this, I've got one other sitting on my shelf out there. I haven't spun too much yet, but one or two more, and I'm going to pursue the rest of these. I've really been enjoying a lot of Bauhaus lately. This album is so good. Really good.
Jeff came down like around October, and I picked that up at the record store we were shopping, and one of the Peter Murphy CDs. Yeah, it's really good. I'm like, why? How did I miss this all these years?
I've always had the Volume 1, Volume 2, and I felt pretty comfortable with that. But there's a lot of this that's on Volume 1. I mean, there's a lot of the hits are on here, but the whole album rules. It's 17 tracks. It's on 4AD, which back in the day, this was a import CD. God, great. I'm just kind of blown. I'm like, God, why didn't I drop down the money on these long time? I had friends into it, and I just
There's a pretty cheap box set you can get with all 4 of the studio albums in it.
I saw that.
It's one of those that's
I
like
hate those
$25 maybe.
I hate those slimline promo slip box.
That's fair. Yeah. If anybody's looking to pick them all up at once, on kind of a budget, you can still find it pretty
cheap.
Easy on eBay and stuff. It doesn't show up on Discogs a whole lot for some reason, but it's definitely all over like eBay for $20 to $30. And those are good albums for sure.
Right on. So that's that. And Aaron, you're back.
All right. So the next one's going to be a metal one, I promise. But just in the spirit of sort of what's been going on, I have been listening to a lot of soul jazz, and I kind of feel like it's my moral duty to share this cover with y'all because it's so good. I mean, how can you not want to hear that? That's just fucking fantastic. Yeah, when I see a cover like that, my wallet comes right out. But let's go to another one, where I'm really kind of a late bloomer on this band, really. But I think I'm kind of finally starting to get my head around Sepultura for real.
Huh.
Like, I've never disliked Sepultura, right? When the hype was happening and they were sort of at their peak of popularity, I wasn't paying much attention because I was listening to like Richard Hell and 70s punk and shit like that, And then I went back and I checked out. I mean, the first one I ever got. This is actually kind of a suck story. We love telling the stories about how he got a deal on something, and now we have this rare ass record that doesn't cost anything, or that it didn't cost us anything. Well, I sort of the opposite because I found an original of Schizophrenia, like a Cogumelo pressing at a shop in San Francisco, and I let it go when I let go of a bunch of other shit. So probably for a fraction of what it's worth now. So anyway, I didn't love him, but I sort of came back around, gave him another chance, and sort of it's been another one that I sort of take off the shelf from time to time and put back. And I don't know, man, I'm really coming around. I mean, this one I'm really starting to dig the same way I dig some of that early, the first wave of black metal shit. You know what I mean? Specifically like the, the German stuff primarily. It's sort of in that kind of a vein. It doesn't sound exactly like that. This almost sounds like it's halfway between that and like what was going to be coming out of Columbia soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just starting to dig these guys more and more. Oh
yeah.
Yeah, I'm late to the party, but what the hell? Another thing that doesn't hurt is there's a reissue, but it's one that doesn't have that first EP on it because that makes it too long for me.
That's the old, yeah.
And it kind of feels like bonus tracks. I actually have a reissue of the EP too, with the split with the other thing, but yeah, but this is the one that I've been reaching for the most, and I'll tell you, man, I'm coming around on Sepultura like kind of a lot.
Barbaric and Savage, good shit.
Yeah.
Yep. No, that's cool. I'm kind of late to their early stuff too. I picked them up with Arise, like most people my age, but yeah, I never worked backwards through their catalog very much for some reason until just the past few years. So yeah, I'm in the newbie boat along with you on that one, Aaron.
Right on, man. You can help me with the oaring here.
Well, there's one of us on each side of the boat, so we can actually move forward instead of just going around in a circle.
Right.
Well, you mentioned Barbaric and Savage, right? Like that's what the production kind of gives me with that. Like this, that re-recorded one, that was like, what was it, last year, the year before?
Yeah.
I, you know what I mean? Like it sounds better, right? But I don't get the Barbaric and Savage the same kind of way, I did with, with those original recordings. Like I kind of worries me that there'll be like a next gen of metal listeners who are probably going to skip the original version, you know what I mean? Start with the re-recorded version, so that's bound to happen.
Could be, yep.
But
that can kind of, this is a really specific example, but where that kind of bites me in the ass a little bit is with Witchfinder General and the song Burning a Sinner, which is on the first album, but then also on the single. And like the single is like infamously shitty sounding. Like anyone who collects this shit for more than 10 minutes knows the Witchfinder General Burning a Sinner single sounds like absolute fucking shit. It sounds like they recorded it in a toilet. I don't mean in the bathroom, I mean literally like underwater. But like I listened to it on the LP where it like sounds like crisp and good and it's rocking. It was actually the first version of it that I heard. I go, man, this doesn't quite sound right. Then I put on the 45 and I go, man, this sounds like shit, So kind of it's kind of a lose-lose, man, with a great song by a great band. So what can I say, man? God hates us all.
All right, Rick.
God hates us all. The guy who pulled Live Undead in his last video.
You know what? I have never owned or heard Live Undead all the way through. I know that's odd and strange, but I never did. I don't know why.
It's really only 3 songs because the other 3 are studio. And they're just the same as on the other records, like Haunting the Chapel.
Maybe that's why I didn't buy it, because I had a friend that had it, and it didn't seem like it was what it was supposed to be.
Dude, if I bought that record when I was like 17, I would have felt so ripped off. But like actually getting it when I was like 30, I was like, oh, dude, fucking this is coming home. It doesn't matter if it's anything new. I just want the piece.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's one of those good for times in your life when you have a little more money than when you're a teenager records.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. I got a classic over here. It's all just sitting there. And, I owe quite a bit of Dio, but I've never actually owned the first live album.
Oh, yeah.
Neither have I, actually.
It's all sitting there. I'm like, how? Like, what is this, right? Because it's not something I run into much in the wild. And it's an interesting story behind this, just behind the transition. For those who don't know, so, this was recorded in San Diego, I think it was. But there's one track recorded for this was in the studio, Time to Burn. On side 2 here, there's the guy who replaced Vivian right here, Craig Goldie. who stuck around. Obviously, he kind of was in and out with the band for various reasons, but you do get Vivian because he was on that Sacred Heart tour while it was going on, and then I think it was Dream Evil. I think it's when he left for a bit, but it's a live album, you know, like it's nothing that was surprising for what I was expecting, but it's a nice little kind of just taste of kind of what they were going through during that tour, and I thought it was just cool to see this and just kind of like the props. Even then they were doing all this, and it's just, you know, it's like if Maiden can do it, you know, it's like we got the Yanks, you know, got their version of the big statue on stage and deal, you know. So it was just a cool kind of visit back in time, and just so I could say my Dio collection is a little more complete now. But I don't know if this ever got repressed or whatever. So I guess a lot of these, it's got to be originals. But pretty cool. Just kind of getting not all bands put a lot of live albums out. You know what I mean? Like I think Morbid Angel has like one live album. You know, so there's, you know, I guess it's not prevalent in a lot of discographies. But I don't know. Some of the bands put out some of the best. I know Maiden, Live and Dead, for example, you know, put out some really good stuff there. And it's a really good. It works like a really good compilation too. But this was just short and sweet. Ends with We Rock, Rock and Roll Children, of course, Rainbow in the Dark. Sorry guys, no Holy Diver, but great nevertheless.
Yeah, you're right, Rick. Those kind of, you know, random live releases often don't get reissued, so over time they can be a pain to find. And that one's weird because you're right. It's kind of short. It's not like it's a full length live album. It's like a live mini LP or something.
Because they felt like, what was it, Warner Brothers? I guess felt they needed to put out something to kind of just to show, hey, you know, like around and they're touring, and you know, I guess for those who score tickets or get out,
capitalize on the popularity a bit. Yeah. The version of Rainbow in the Dark on there is a lot faster than the version on the album, if I remember right.
It was also that disruption, you know, because I think Vivian left in the middle of the tour, you know, and came in and finished out the tour with them. So, you know, there was that background stuff happening. So, yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out why Allan's banned. There's no blocked users on this YouTube channel, Allan. So it's not that. I'm looking into the chat stuff.
Okay. It may be something on my end that I clicked somehow randomly. So
I'll keep looking as this goes on. So, because it's bothering me. But
I never get tired of Rainbow in the Dark. I know it's overplayed. I know.
It's their Paranoid, but it's still a great song.
I used to hate that song, and I came to it like over the last like 10, 15 years or so, something like that. So it's like I feel like I don't have that baggage. Like I don't know. I'm not explaining this very well, but I don't know, man. I dig that song too.
Just an earworm. It just works really well.
And it's kind of corny, but you know, if I couldn't handle Korn, man, I wouldn't have half the records I have. I mean, Korn in the sense of corny, Korn with a C. All
right. I think it's Aaron. Did Aaron just mention the K word? I'm like, no, okay.
No.
All right. Allan, you're up.
All right. Joe, good information on Live Undead. I was thinking there were different versions of it. That I may even have a couple of different pressings that have like different, you know, tracks and bonus tracks. But yeah, Joe says this version from 2022 kind of has like the full set list of live stuff from it. So
right on.
That sounds like a good one to pick up.
That's where my inner curmudgeon comes out, though, because I'll be like, "No, man, I just want the original release." You know.
Well, you're getting gypped by the sounds of it. You know, that's probably why I never bought it. You know, I always look at it, I'm like, just never 3 songs I already have. You know, in 3 live songs. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. And George, that question has bothered me for ages. I never know where the line's supposed to be between EP and mini LP. Or even between mini LP and regular LP. It's a format I don't like simply because I don't know what to do with it. Anyway, let's move on to another slice of death metal. Revisited this a few months ago. Cancer's second album. Hadn't played it in ages. And, you know, Cancer is one of those bands I didn't necessarily remember favorably. I checked them out back in, you know, the 90s when stuff like, you know, Sins of Mankind was coming out. And they always felt kind of like, well, yeah, that's just another death metal band. they did not really impress me or stick with me much. But I was like, well, hell, it's been, probably 25, 35 years since I played it. So checked it out. It does hold up better than I gave it credit for. It's still just, kind of a very straightforward paint by numbers death metal release. Yeah, it's, Chuck has nothing to worry about in terms of, his legacy being usurped or anything. But at the same time, it's not bad in any way. It's, they do the thing and do it pretty well. I think they just came out at a time where a lot of bands were starting to, really bloat that scene. And so it was easy to get to the point where it was getting harder and harder to impress folks. It's like, yeah, okay, you've got the basics down. That's fine. But it's kind of like the scene today. There's just so many bands. It's really hard to win somebody over unless you're doing something truly standout. And if nothing else, this album, of course, does have, James Murphy guitar solos throughout it, which does help quite a bit. And so, yeah, glad I gave this one a revisit. It's still not going to make like my list of 10 favorite death metal albums ever. I'm not trying to oversell it or anything, but it was worth a re-listen. And it's not below average or anything like that, as I've sometimes kind of crapped on it in the past. It's like, yeah, it's a good enough death metal album. If you just want something in that traditional old school style and you're kind of tired of hearing some of the classics, there's nothing wrong with the second Cancer album. So, yep, I'll give it a passing grade for sure.
And the reason they're B tier, at least what they're considered, is because there was so much good stuff coming out too at that time. It was still the golden era, like.
Exactly. Yeah, good point, Rick. Yeah, when you're, and folks have made this point before about other bands. Like in the 70s, you had all these Led Zeppelin clones. But what was the fucking point when Led Zeppelin was still playing live? Nobody needed to hear the clone band when you still had the real deal going. And yeah, kind of the same maybe with Cancer there. When you still have, albums like, Human coming out around the same time, this album's going to, have a tough time making, new friends and breaking any new ground.
I wonder how these like English bands were kind of reacting to what was going on in the Florida scene at the time, like with all the Scott Burns stuff. Like, they were doing their own thing too. Like, Benediction and those guys were also another band, that might have been classified there too.
Yeah. And you're right, Rick. Those those two bands in particular did seem to draw on the Florida sound pretty heavily, more so than maybe like, New York or maybe even more than, the UK scene, which was of course more, kind of grindy. So yeah, they not only kind of come across as like, well, you've kind of got the standard Floridian sound, but you're not even a Floridian band. And that might've been a strike against them for some people.
Yeah.
Hey, here's a question for y'all. Does anyone know, how the first record they put out has that Dawn of the Dead still on the cover with like the machete in the guy's head?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a story with that? Does anyone know? I mean, it seems like the sort of thing where they would have just put it out there and George Romero wouldn't have given a shit that they used a still. And so it would have just happened like that. But I wonder if there's like any sort of licensing or if they met or if there's any sort of backstory to that.
And that
No
one's
idea.
from Dawn of the Dead. Huh.
The Dead.
I don't know if there's a backstory. I mean, I know Night of the Living Dead, he never really had the rights to much in the first place. So that was, of course, everyone rips that one off. But yeah, Dawn of the Dead, that wouldn't have been the case.
Right. Yeah. That first Cancer, that's Dawn of the Dead. That actually I was kind of bothered about it when I had it. I wish I'd kept it because never mind. No more of those stories tonight.
Well, this stuff was still pretty underground too at the time. So it's like they probably weren't putting much thought into that. They were used to putting what do you call it, film screenshots or whatever under demos and stuff. That would just ended up on the cover.
I'm getting heat from my Cancer and Massacre dislike. Sorry, Eric. All right. This is my second to last non-metal thing tonight, I believe. But yep, again, this is EBM, electronic body music, Front 242, Belgian band. This is a compilation of 4 singles, wax tracks. This stuff gets better as it goes. Very minimalistic, dancey type electronic music. Gets a little bit more layered and aggressive as this goes. I enjoy this. This is, again, good stuff to put on when I'm printing. It's just kind of always like this band. Tyranny for You is my favorite by them of the ones I've heard. But yeah, it's kind of cool to get a compilation. I just recently picked this up. I got it for like $5 off of eBay. I have the Geography tape, but yeah, it's fun listen. Again, can be aggressive like metal minus the metal, and I just like the purity of the electronic sound. It's good stuff. I did, Mr. Lando, the Wax Track Stock Industrial Accident. Very, very good show. Very cool glimpse into that whole.
I don't see why you wouldn't like them if you're already into Frontline and Skinny Puppy, and you know, if you already listen to that, like that's just one of those, like, it's got to be on your checklist.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, my a girl I dated in college, her roommate was really into Front 242, so I never checked him out a lot, but it was often kind of in the background when we were hanging out. So yeah, not bad.
I had no appreciation for Front 242 back then. I actually have one of their records now. I bought it within the last year, and I really dig it now. But back then, I was like, oh, I had no use for anything industrial or any of that crap.
I had friends that were into it, and I always was around it and appreciate. I never hated it when they put it on, but you know, as the years I've gotten older, I'm like, I'm swinging the cart back around to some of this other stuff that I was introduced to, but never fully. And it's like a whole nother scene. I'm trying to research good bands to get. You know, obviously there's a lot of similarity in any scene, but it's been fun. It's been fun, and you can get the CDs usually pretty cheap still. So vinyl, different story. I prefer the vinyl of this stuff for some reason, but yeah, that's not. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I got enough fucking problems.
I've got a lot of reissues.
Yeah,
you know, I'm not going to go search out original fucking Wax. I mean, I don't care. You know, I mean, when it comes to metal, I kind of care. You know what I mean? But that's sort of where I focus on as far as the serious collecting. You know, I kind of wanted to have everything I was going to listen to in the jazz section too, but you know, I don't need to be that way about everything because it's impossible. You know, I could do that, and then I would have 200 records instead of what I actually have. You know, I'd rather have more music.
Right on.
All right, well, I'm going to stick with the theme here and show this. Let me take the plastic off so everyone can see this great cover by Demilich, the mighty Demilich. How do y'all pronounce that name? Nespithe?
I always said Nespite, but I don't know if that's right.
I do not know.
Yeah, I read somewhere that's an anagram for the spine, which I kind of don't want to believe because that's a worse name than just something that's just gibberish, you know? So I don't know. Yeah, you know, I actually had a sort of proud dad moment a few days ago. I was listening to this record, and my kid who's in Boston at school right now, I just took a picture of the cover and like sent it to him. I was like, "Is this a good cover?" And he was like, "That's amazing." I was like, "Yeah, I raised my kid right." Because if you're gonna buy shit by the cover, this is the kind of shit you want to be buying. Anyway, these guys, it's funny. Like in a way, I want to call them like the death metal Voivod because they're so complicated. But these guys feel obtuse in a way that Voivod wasn't ever quite. You know what I mean? Like there are other bands that were influenced, like Spectral Incursion comes to mind. They were kind of Voivod-y and maybe a little bit more obtuse. But these guys are really just sort of doing their own thing. And maybe it's because I haven't digested it as much. But these songs, like they have a lot of different parts and they're, you know, weird sections and that sort of thing. But you really sort of have to pay attention to sort of figure out where they're going and that sort of thing, where Voivod kind of like goes over you a little more smoothly, I feel like. Again, that might just be that I've only listened to this record like, I don't know, 50 times instead of hundreds like the Voivod records, but still absolutely one of a kind singer. I fucking love the singer on this thing.
I was gonna say that's the thing that's gonna be the draw for a lot of people. It's you love it or you hate it.
Always the draw for me, man. I was when I got into this stuff. Actually, I was when I had my big death metal renaissance a few years ago. I was listening to this at work and like sent it to someone I was working with, and he was calling it like the Screaming Assholes Band because it sounded like screaming buttholes or whatever, something like that. He said so. I actually don't think that's very apt, but it's still a funny thing to say. So, you know, and that cover, my God, dude.
Great.
I mean, if they're going to put out a one and done, I mean, that's it right there. You know, like it's just the market quality. Even when I was getting into death metal very early on, like I always thought the Finns were always putting up the weirdest stuff. You know?
The darkest, and they're great. Great.
Yeah, there are other great Finnish death metal bands too. And other great Finnish fucking bands generally, man. There's fucking a lot of really good Finnish jazz. Like with a country of 5 million people, it's just absolutely amazing the quantity and quality of music they've managed to put out into the world, you know?
Allan, try it now. You were listed as a hidden user in the moderators. I don't know why. I think I fixed it.
Okay. I'll test it out here in just a second.
All right. No, that's out of my hair now. I was freaking out. I don't know what, when we were in the stream together. I must have hit up one of us hit something to put us in hiding, put you in hiding. I don't know.
No.
Should be fixed. Anyway,
I try to spend a lot of time hiding these days, but not from from you guys on YouTube.
Yeah,
But yeah,
maybe it
I'll check
happened
out.
during the brackets.
Yeah, you're not doing a very good job of it.
could have been.
It's fine to hide.
When you're getting all that spam,
Yeah,
right.
right.
Misclick and Allan's gone.
All right, Rick.
You know what? I'm glad you put out that demo leak because got another Finnish one, but this is a modern band. Came out in January and through Vargeist. Like they're a label in South Carolina. I think you're neck in the woods, Allan. And they put out that Guts album. Anybody familiar with this?
I've heard of it.
Nightmare Fuel. So
Don't know
it's
that
their second album. Like their first one, Decay, made quite a bit of noise when it came out. What was it, 2 or 3 years ago? Something like that when it came out. And I wouldn't say I like this one more. I feel like it's right on par with Decay. This is just a good band, between bands like this or Corpsest, they have a certain style, but with this, it's just familiar enough and they really focus on the catchy, they're not trying to go outside the box and do something that's kind of in it. Because I just said, the Finns do the weird stuff, right? Like, but this being a modern band, I think what they're focused on is, the stuff you love about, jungle rock, along with Grave, and just like that classic era stuff. These guys really love that bit of old school. They have quite a bit of that chunky stuff kind of going on. So it's got some meat and potatoisms. But it's just fun, man. This is one of those albums where you could be dark and brooding. I mean, it's called Nightmare Fuel, but this is one you can kind of put on the background, and you're not going to hate laundry or doing the dishes that much, when you have Nightmare Fuel on. But just called Guts, you kind of know what you're getting. Like it's, what I found crazy was that you look at the back, like Vargeist was to make sure that you know where it's coming from. It's like when their logo is bigger. Logo, that's very telling.
Yeah.
But a great release. I mean, we look at that. Maybe they're trying to compensate because of this. It's like, okay, make a deal. Like we'll put our logo really huge here, but on the disc, we're going to give you this treatment, and it's kind of what they ended up with. But yeah, not too over the top, but just very very familiar. But these guys, you can tell they really love the old school, very chunky and very catchy. And they do take some liberties, like that one song "Ravenous Leech," which is probably my favorite one.
That's a great title.
Yeah, like why wouldn't you want to pick this up? Yeah. Mark has a lot of good stuff. They got another band called Volus, which is really good too. Like I said, you check it out if you want to get to some new death metal that's not that familiar. But but this one's been making quite a bit of noise. So yeah, Guts. I mean, think of a death metal name. That's it. It's like
why wasn't that used sooner? I mean, really,
like all the obvious ones, right? Like death, cancer, like they've all been taken. You know what I mean? Like, did no one think of Guts? I don't know.
I'm gonna type it in Metal Archives right now. See how many bands named up. Well, there's only 4 bands ever named Guts that showed up on.
Yeah.
There's Angel Guts.
Back like in the mid-aughts, I got really sick. I had pneumonia and developed a pleural effusion. I was in the hospital for a while and had surgery and shit like that. And I was with septic for a while, and like obviously I was okay, right? But I got out of the hospital. I was still kind of recovering, and I was poking around. I might have been looking at Metal Archives or something, but I was like sort of looking around online. I saw there was a band called Septicemia, and I was like, oh shit! If what I had was bad enough, there's a death metal band named that. I must have been really sick.
Carcass didn't use that word yet? I'd be surprised. It seems like they picked up that whole anatomy dictionary.
Oh,
they probably used the word, but I didn't know if a band called that. So, hey, is there an address on that CD though? I'm curious if they're closer to Allan or to me.
Not sure where in South Carolina. I just know they're based there, but that I know of. I feel like these old pressings, right? Like when you pull out the little fan club shit and all that stuff. Like they were really good about that stuff. Like these new CDs, they don't give you anything, man. It's like an earache digipack. Like they give you nothing.
Daryl is asking the questions we're all wondering right now. Wait, why is Rick showing jewel cases? Did the system
I was
fall
wondering
apart?
that too. I was wondering that last week.
Or new releases. My archive stuff goes in the sleeve. I got a system. So I'm quite a slacker, but when it comes to some things, I'm very meticulous with that.
So the CDs that are actually worth money, he takes out of the case and puts in a Rubbermaid sleeve, and so those spines get the more you bend them, they get loose and they just fall apart. So there's flaws in the logic here.
I'll have the last laugh when I if I do have to resell these, and they're all in just the greatest shape ever. Like, you'll see.
You'll be like, oh shit, I gave all my jewel cases away. How am I going to sell this? I'm going to have to buy jewel cases now.
I've actually mailed a few, and I've given a few to record stores, and they gladly take them. Like, oh shit, yeah. So
yeah. Yep. Inquiring minds, they want to know. All right. Unbanned moderator, co-host, cohort. Don't let it happen again. It's all we're gonna say here. Just
I piss in your White Claw one time.
It improves the flavor mildly.
It's not my fault you chugged it, but while everybody was laughing.
Right?
All right. Let's see. Simon mentioned recently this band's got a new album coming out. I'm really excited to hear it. So I played their other album. This is Jade, Pacification of Death.
That's a good album.
Yeah, it's a really good album. International band.
Simon reviewed it on the channel. Go ahead. Simon reviewed it on the channel. Go ahead.
Yes, he did. And he's offered to review the new album when it comes out in the near future, which I'm looking forward to. They did a split last year, and their half of it is pretty good, although I haven't gone back to it in a while. Yes, there he is with the Jade Love. Yeah, this one, I picked it up, played it some, had shelved it, and got it back out. I remembered it being a little more doom death, but it actually leans a little bit more towards maybe the mellow death side of things. Really great melodies throughout it. The songwriting is just really a notch above. But yeah, in my head, I had it starting to creep towards the doomier side of things. But if it does, it's more like the Catatonia Brave Murder Day side of death doom, not like the really slow Bell Witch kind of stuff at all. So yeah, very excited that they've got something else coming out. Oh, what's Simon up to?
Do not take storage advice from Get Into It with Jason Hook. Yeah, especially how to alphabetize. Yeah, don't do it.
Poor Jason. He shares the secrets of his storage and classification system, and 5 years later he still takes shit for it. But yeah, if folks didn't check this band out in the past, highly recommend it. Again, if you like, say, Brave Murder Day era Catatonia, this should be right up your alley, and we can all look forward to a new album coming out in the next couple of months, and we'll look forward to Simon's review of that. Yeah, really, really good band. A cut above a lot of stuff in that genre for sure.
Simon never steers me wrong, man. If he praises it that highly, I'm like, that's
Simon costs me a lot of money. He really does. He's like, so he says it's good. Where can I order this? Yep, it happens to me too, Rick.
All right. Well, this is actually there's gonna be one more thing, but that'll be later. This is just a fun album I love from my childhood. I put it on when I'm doing dishes, cleaning the kitchen, cooking dinner. Wrong one. Not that one. We'll talk about that one later.
That's
this one. Here we go. Kiss, Dressed to Kill. This poor thing looks like it slid down the street. But I love this record. It's short. It's when they were putting out 2 albums a year because their shit wasn't selling. And they just stayed on the road. But I always thought these songs were super catchy. And of course, it's got She. Could that be the first pseudo doom song? Maybe. I don't know. I always loved it. It would be a fun song to cover. But yeah, you got Room Service, Ladies in Waiting, Getaway. Come on, Rock Bottom. Great album. A lot of fun. But I put this on and I'm singing along the whole damn thing. Takes me back to the younger days that I have not somehow forgotten yet. I've forgotten a lot of other things.
That's like that's the opposite of them where they're taking off their makeup. It's like we're gonna see them in suits. You're like,
yep.
How about that?
It's cool. Cool cover. Cool album.
Dude, I've always thought that's the worst early Kiss record.
I like it.
If you like it that much, maybe I should give it another chance because I do like
Kiss. It's Kiss. I mean, they kind of lean more into the poppy English type of thing. Paul was very influenced by that stuff, those English poppy English bands. But I don't know, it's fun.
I think the first album is great, and I think the second album is very good.
Produced weird, but good. Yeah, this is definitely the happiest of the three, for sure. God, the lyrics on Hotter Than Hell are just bizarre. Just, I'm 93, you're 16, and then cat calling a girl with one leg. I mean, just all this weird stuff. It's weird, but hey, it's Kiss. Aaron.
All right. Well, since we're talking about Mr. Hook, I had a little Hook moment earlier today because I really needed to listen to this, and I couldn't find it. Like, it wasn't with this other Slayer records. I was like, oh shit. So I looked again. I was like, oh fuck, I can't find it. I like checked over by the record player. Maybe I I didn't put it away, and I had. Like, shit. And what makes it worse is like I already have like the metal section, right? But I've been listening to like I said, a fair bit of soul jazz too, and a couple other things too. So I was like, I don't even know if it's in the metal section. If I misfiled the fucking thing, I was like, when am I going to find it? So I was going through, and it took me probably 20 minutes to find it. It was in the V's. It was actually right next to a copy of War and Pain. So it probably happened when I was taking the Voivod record back. This one was I did one of those. But yeah,
you never would have found it. It'd been like, you would have eventually, but it'd been like, what the hell? You've been buying a new one.
I was getting increasingly nervous because one time, this is a long time ago, I had a copy of Crossing the Red Sea with the adverts. It tells you how much it scarred me that I still remember what record it was. But it was lost for like 6 months, and I knew it was in the collection somewhere, but I couldn't find it. I'm sure I was like in the B's instead of the A's, so it wasn't like way far away, but yeah. Anyway, man, still all-time fucking classic record. This is so good.
You know, post-mortem raining blood at the end is like the 1-2 punch for that record.
I mean, it's not a 1-2 punch. I'm inclined to go Altar of Sacrifice and Jesus Saves, because Altar of Sacrifice is such a fucking savage main riff. Like, it doesn't even sound right.
Yeah,
you know, it doesn't even sound like you can play it.
Right.
But like, I mean, you know, it's so great. It's just for being so savage. But then there's so many little things too, like the opening of side 2 and Criminally Insane, where it's sort of the slow pace, but he's playing really fast on the cymbal. I mean, just little shit like that makes it just fucking fantastic, you know. And of course, I love it when they play in the triplets, you know, like you think like the Platters or something like that, like in the learn the sacred words of praise, hail Satan section, you know what I mean? It's like it's fucking doo-wop time signature, you know. I mean, there's a lot of that in this kind of thrash, but I don't know, man. Slayer just fucking had it.
When did the Satanic Panic thing end? Was it before or after that album dropped? Like, well, I don't know what the cutoff year, you know.
No, this is 86, so it was definitely still in progress.
It was in it, yeah.
In fact, I think that the PMRC really got going like on the latter part of the mid 80s, so like 85, 86, 87, somewhere in there. I could be wrong about that. But
85, 86 feels like kind of prime PMRC era stuff.
Totally. You know, to this day, I believe 2000 election, I believe, you know, it was really, if anyone remembers this shit, this isn't, I'm not going to go into politics here at all, just so we're clear, okay? But like, you know, it was a really close election in 2000, Al Gore running against George W. Bush. And I actually believe that there were enough low information voters, like people who, unlike me, don't pay any attention to politics at all, who like went in and looked at the ballot and went, wait a minute, Gore, like Tipper Gore? Oh, I remember her. I'm voting for the other guy. Mm-hmm. I think that cost him more votes than Ralph Nader ever could have dreamed of.
You and I have talked about that, and because Florida was the swing state. Florida was the one state nobody could agree on who was going to win because of all that was back when you had the punch cards and people were complaining that some of them weren't fully punched and all that. And what fucking state, you know, produces more bands that were probably targeted by the PMRC than any other state? Florida death metal bands. Those teenagers listening to all that stuff, you know, would have been, you know, really put off by PMRC antics. And what state did eventually win it for Bush? Florida. So yeah, I have wondered the same thing for sure. Just how much did that cost him in the long run in terms of politics? With a lot of the kids that would have been just kids, you know, who all of a sudden couldn't buy their records, they would have been old enough to vote in that election, and they would have remembered that shit.
Yeah, totally. I mean, everyone within 5 years of our ages,
Yep. So, yep. Interesting. Interesting take on history. That could very much be a thing.
What's up, Skull Viking? How you doing, man?
Hey, there he is. Let's go.
All right, Rick, what you got?
Back to a time when those records meant something, man. When they dropped, like there was a certain I don't know, like stigma with the whole satanic thing. You didn't live during that time, man. I was still like when that record dropped, I was like 6, but I still remember just how people reacted around that kind of material. Even something like Kiss, like with the makeup, that did a lot to like just unnerve people, who lived in a certain belt of the country, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. So Rain in Blood, what is it, like a half hour or just under half an hour?
It's like 29 minutes or something. Yeah.
There's something about which is very appropriate for that. Like it's just the perfect runtime. But then when you get into something like Doom, right? It's just out the window. Like it's just the whole runtime thing. It's because of the way the song structures are. A lot of them are very long. And so I've been getting into this band because nobody talks about them. Called The Cross.
Never even heard of them. As most of the things you show.
Wait, like the sport?
Like the cross, like the cross.
Oh,
the cross, not La Cross.
Well,
shit, man.
how many sports are metal?
Lacrosse.
But this, they're considered like one of the first doom bands out of Brazil. Funny enough, they put out early demo material back in the early 90s. But I think one reason why they got ignored was because like they didn't really put out a full length until like 2017 or whatever. Like, so they're one of those bands. Like they kind of put out some stuff, disappeared for like decades, and and then they show up. So this is I believe is their first EP. And I gotta say, man, like maybe that time Absent did a lot because like this is some really high grade stuff. Like you would not even know that stuff like this that's this good. It's not even like mentioned or promoted anywhere. So I find it kind of, found it frustrating. I know the last record they dropped, like Aaron Stainthorpe's in it. Like he did some guest vocals on it and stuff. So that should tell you something. But this right here has an over 40-minute runtime, and it's considered an EP. It's that thing where like that one Reverend Bizarre. It's like, it's at some point like where's the role on this stuff? But it has it's like the way they work their angle on Doom. It's not so much stationed in one particular style. Like this guy's very versatile. Kind of like the way Aaron does, like the way he does the harsh vocals, but then he does the kind of, he doesn't go into that whiny territory, kind of thing, like the way Aaron does. You know what I mean? Like again, that's the way some people describe it. He kind of reminds me. He does more of a chant. It kind of reminds me of what's his name, the boss from Roots. He kind of has that kind of the aura about him. When he does that. But he can go between this and but there's these death metal leanings to this, and it quickly moves over into more of the Condenados kind of sound, if you know that band, kind of have a little bit of that going on. Being from South America, it kind of makes sense, but obviously you can hear all the influences in here. You do hear the Candlemass kind of moments. So this is a very quirky band. Like you get a little bit of the My Dying Bride, but you also get a little bit of the Candlemass, kind of all wrapped in this package. And I'm a very moody listener. I can hop in between all these different things, right? And I feel like this is one of those albums where I put in and I know I'm going to get a little bit of everything. It's a really fun band. The production's really good. The musicianship is very well performed. I think the guy who does the vocals on this, I forget his name off the top of my head. It's very well honed. Really is about this craft and really understands Doom. And what it's about, what it's trying to do. I don't know if I agree with the runtime, with calling it an EP. That's probably the only disagreement. But other than that, it's a really good band to check out. So I'm looking to get all the other physicals. I wouldn't imagine they're too hard to find, probably because they're not really talked about all that much. So I don't know what the demand's like. But yeah, it's just called The Cross. So you wouldn't think to it's something that will come up in your mind to look for, just because it's such a generic sounding name.
Yep.
But when you put yourself in a place where this band has been around a very long time, then it starts to make sense. A band coming out now just called The Cross, I wouldn't think of them as a doom band. I would think of them as maybe like a goth, something with gothic leanings.
Yeah, Tribulation or Clone or something.
Something like that, but no, total doom, and they do it very well. I think their drummer died some 2-3 years ago, so I think there was a bit of a lineup disruption there. So that's probably why they haven't put out another record since. But man, really good stuff. But if you can, this is called Still Falling. So if you want to start here, it's good. It's a good place. Again, if you like all your little styles of doom kind of wrapped all in one, they do it really well.
Right on.
Hey Rick, if the drummer passed away while they were on tour, would you say he died on the cross? I'm asking for a friend.
Wah wah.
I don't know if it's a good friend you're asking for.
And folks wonder why I got shadow banned out of the chat by my co-host.
Oh, here it is. The vocalist's name is Eduardo Slayer.
Eduardo Slayer.
The Slayer family goes way back. Way back.
Of the West Berkshire Slayers, I believe.
Right.
No, that sounds cool, Rick. I've never heard of him.
Oh, you like it.
Rick's always got all the deep cut doom bands for sure.
Absolutely. Well of information.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go with this one next. This was the one band in the band's catalog I completely missed when it came out, so I had to go back and get it years later. And man, it's actually one of their best. We're talking about Deceased and Surreal Overdose. I've kept up with this band since the second album came out, Blueprints for Madness, but for whatever reason, I just completely missed the release of this album. It came out in 2011, and that kind of makes sense. That was a really busy time for me with work and personal stuff, and I just wasn't keeping up with a ton of new releases at that time. And Deceased also weren't on a big label at the time. This came out on their own Shrieks from the Hearse label, Shrieks from the Hearse label. They weren't with Relapse anymore, and they weren't on Hell's Headbangers yet. So, kind of a smaller release, and just flew completely under my radar somehow. But it's also the first one, I'm pretty sure, where Mark Adams was out of the band. And, his replacement, is it Sean Fugel, I think's his name. They had a new guitarist for the first time in ages. But this album really, really rips. It's the fastest Deceased album. Really dialing up kind of the thrash and speed metal components in their sound a lot more than other releases. And it's absolutely just banger after banger. The opener, Skin Crawling Process, is fantastic. Hey, Tip Fan, thank you very, very much. Appreciate that.
Thanks a bunch, man.
Yep, it's always good to have you in the chat. Cloned Day of the Robot is cool. You've got the closer, Dying in Analog. Just a fucking cool song title, and they really go out on a ripper with this album. So, still kind of embarrassed that I just missed the release of it, since I've always kept up with them. Kind of a weird, altered picture of King there.
We need to get Kingsley back on. It's been a minute. He's had a busy last year.
Yep. I was thinking that recently too, but I know he's always on the road and stuff, and they had a lot going on this year. But we'll check in with him soon.
He's got unlimited stamina. Like when I got to talk to him briefly at that show, and it's just like, but that's a band that can do really slow, really fast. And you listen to like something like Thrash Times at Richmond High, whatever that.
That's a fun release too. Yeah,
you can hear like where they can go. That's probably no different. The fact that you just said that kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah, but and when you work through the Deceased catalog, you start to notice that while Deceased definitely has their own sound, every album tends to have a little bit of a different personality. Again, this is the one that kind of dials up the faster stuff more. Some of the other albums will dial up more the traditional melodic Iron Maiden kind of elements more. So it's interesting that they have these little changes from album to album. But really love this one. I've been playing it some more recently. Fantastic set of songs. Really like them in kind of a full speed metal mode on this album. So that one's been getting some spins. Marty, what's been getting more spins with you?
All right. Well, today is the release date of this album. Contreras, The Hero of the Lost.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's been a 10-year gap since their first album. It's Michael from Woden's Throne and Nemeris, and his wife Alex, who's also from Nemeris, on keyboards, and Austin from Panopticon on drums. This album is 4 songs, kind of goes through the stages of grief. Steven, that sang on the first album, close friend of Michael's, died shortly after the album came out. He had a health problem, and kind of died surprisingly. And so Michael put the album, the band on the shelf for a while. But this is a very, very, very awesome album. Very honored to have put it out. It's atmospheric black metal of the English variety. You can hear the Woden's Throne-isms in it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the spatial awareness and the feel. It's just very good atmospheric black metal. Also, this is not coming out officially till the end of next month, but I had to put a release date down for the press stuff. But it's in stock, and I've been shipping it. So this is Kolga. This is my friend Jack Hannert and Austin. Austin's side project Kolga. Supposedly, when they do a full length, I'm going to be playing bass on it. I don't know why, because Austin's a way better bass player than I am. But 3 songs. Again, very atmospheric, spacious black metal. And Rick, don't buy these because they're coming your way.
It's funny. I didn't pull it for tonight, but I was listening to the first one pretty recently. Jimmy's review and that new one kind of inspired to go check out the previous one too.
Yeah, and go check out Jimmy's review of this. Not a lot of you did, which is a bummer. It's his first review for the channel, and he killed it. He did a great job.
It's a really nice review. Yeah, he really did.
It's a really, really good project. Yeah,
they're really good stuff. 100%. And the new Nemeris, it's recorded. It's being remastered right now. That'll be another release coming this year. A lot of stuff from England coming out. I don't know when Austin's coming back. Scott he'll come out back eventually.
He may still be hungover from last time.
He might be. Yeah, that was a fun stuff.
He's reconsidering his Dark Throne ranking decisions, but
He will be back on the 16th of next month.
Right. All right, Aaron, you're back. So go check out the new Contreras, everybody. Go listen to it on any of the digital platforms that you prefer, and then come hit your boy up for a copy of the LP. Aaron.
All right. All right, so let's go for a lesser known one here. Oh, this just got reissued not too long ago on Nuclear War Now. This is a Valkyria. Here, let me take it out of the plastic. That's a Russian band. And I mean, that cover, right? I mean, do I need to sell it anymore? This is like 91, something like that. It's, more of like, this is like sort of a thrash metal record, but it has a lot of like keys on it. And it's really weird because they're playing like legitimately heavy stuff, but they have these keyboards playing through it, sort of like punctuating it, and that sort of thing. And it's a really unusual sound. And I kind of dig it for that. It's funny, like back in the day, like when this came out, when I was completely anti any kind of synth, I would have been like, oh, fuck that, man, But now I listen to it and go, man, that's really creative and really sort of distinctive too, from some nobody band out of Russia. Yeah, it's actually later too. Look at the painting's 93. So 91 is actually probably too early for this unless they did something really weird that I can't understand. The other thing about this band that really kind of strikes me is they don't sound like Metallica, but the songwriting kind of reminds me of Metallica a little bit. Like the way they put the parts together, sort of like the like the color of the riffs, the way the riffs are constructed, and then those pieces are put together, kind of reminds me of Metallica. Again, without actually sounding like, you're not going to listen to this and go, oh, they're just ripping off Creeping Death on that one. That doesn't happen like at all, So
she seems a little abnormally huge for that horse. Just saying. That's a very large chick on that little horse. It's like the dude on the Summoning debut album riding that Shetland pony.
I was going to say on the Hyksos record, there's that guy who's riding the donkey, the king, Yeah. Looks like a donkey. Yeah, I know you're totally right, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny too because the print job is kind of not exceptional too. I don't know if you can tell through the thing, but the reissue probably looks better. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But yeah, I might as well show the label too real quick because the insert's in here too. But this is a really cool. If you get into this Russian shit, there were some really good titles on Death City Records.
Oh, it's Russian. Okay, that explains a lot.
Yeah, totally.
Jason Hook, start thinking of a topic, man. We need to get you back on the channel. Miss seeing your face. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, not my all-time favorite Russian band, but a very good one and a very interesting one too. So if you have a choice, if you can only get this or the Varvar record, get the Varvar record. But this one is fucking really good too.
I wonder what Varvar means in Russian. Is it like danger, danger?
Oh, no, it's like barbarian. Actually, I happen to know the answer to that. It means barbarian.
Iron gave the glowing endorsement for that, like that year. Then Nuclear War Now erased all that stuff, and I would snap all that up.
Yeah,
I even got the T-shirt.
Really?
Yeah, they had a T-shirt at one point. I don't know if they still sell it, but man, it's awesome.
All the Russian ones they did were great. It's kind of crazy. In fact, in a way, it tells me how little Russian metal there actually was from the time. But like when he started putting that shit out, like literally like 2 or 3 years earlier, I was like going through like trying to see what I could find, who was related, who was on these labels and shit. And I basically pulled together the selection that ended up being almost exactly what Yosuke released. I don't think he did any Novu Zaviet, and I really like them. That's like they're like a Jesus metal doom out of Russia, which is kind of its own thing in a really fantastic way. And yeah, there were like maybe 1 or 2 others that I came across that he did do. I don't think he did the First Aid record either, but most of like the real like heavy hitting Russian bangers just got reissued within the last 2 years. So it's a good time to be into that shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I like the quirkiness of the metal scene at that time too, especially in the 80s. Like I feel like the Romanian scene was a little bit like that too. Like they got their own weirdness, but there's a lot of there that's still left to discover, So yeah. I feel like even people who've been into metal for a long time, no one talks about those bands.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of Romanian stuff either. I have a few though.
All right, Rick.
Thing about these what's spinning is this because they're not like ranking or nothing, so any order goes. So I like to kind of just bounce off you guys. What that next pick's going to be, because you brought up Deceased, Allan, and this is a new band out of Philly, so a local band, and so I guess I'll say if you think that skull's ugly, like this face is one to remember. Like this thing.
Oh, grandma!
It's like the art direction on this thing. It's just I don't know what the decisions were behind it. I don't even know what that's from.
I mean, look at that cover. It's classic.
It's
that looks like what an old guy on SpongeBob would look like.
You're not wrong.
It's nuts. Like, yeah. Oh, you look at that. So they're called Specimen, right? And so it's spelled this way.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I approve of this spelling.
They don't take themselves seriously at all. Like, and that's why I brought up Deceased, because like now that Deceased are not like serious, I guess, like they have fun, like with what they do. And these guys have that same kind of spirit. And it's what I really love about it. It's like it's death metal, but these guys really love heavy metal. Like there's a bit of that speed metal and heavy metal essence kind of layered in there with the death metal. So this is not like an official album. It's it's just basically a compilation of 3 other EPs that they put out. Or I don't know if they call it EPs or demos, but there's 3 short releases. So this just kind of combines all their tracks. So this is their first real, I guess what you call first real vinyl release. So I don't know what the run is on this, but I do know Arthur Risk was involved in, with the mix with those guys. With the Philly connection, it kind of makes sense. But man, I highly recommend it. If you love Deceased, the production on this is obviously rougher, but I think a lot of it is also very intentional. They're kind of just doing this really off-kilter, not quite conventional sounding death metal. There's quite a bit of this quirkiness to it. And the fact that they went with something like, as this visual tells you, like these guys have a lot more ideas coming up. So I have a feeling when they're ready to put out a real full length, like it's going to be talked about, just based on the merits of this material here alone. It's like these guys they're just blowing up with potential. Like they're ready to put out something really fucking awesome. Like But
They thought that cover was so awesome they didn't put their logo on it. They're like, no, that cover needs to stand alone.
you don't need
Nothing.
the logo. I mean, like, come on, this pretty thing. That's all you need. Like right
That's all
here.
you need.
I do respect that decision.
So yeah, even look at some of the track names, like Bear's Knife,
Yeah.
Jersey Devil's Flight. They keep it local here. Stubborn Beast Flesh. Like this just, I don't know, mentally mutilated, violent sanctification. It's just fun, man. Like again, if you find this right here amusing, the music is just as amusing. But this is what I like about bands like Deceased. It's that bit of that, a little bit of everything, kind of wrapped in that death metal, but not quite so conventional. These guys have a lot of that kind of spirit going on. So that's why I think, they're a little different from a lot of the other bands, kind of trying to do something like this. Specimen. They do have a CD and they have a Bandcamp, so they do have a vinyl and CD for those. If you love this cover a little too much, they have it.
Good luck figuring out how to look it up on Google because you can't spell it right.
Specimen with an S. I'll put it in the chat.
Again, Rick coming with the stuff no one's heard of. I love it.
It's local though, so I wouldn't expect everybody to have known it.
Right on. All right, Mr. Steele.
I'm just wondering if they've invented a new subgenre of metal called polygrip metal. Let's see.
That's what we're all going to be inventing together in a couple of years.
Yep.
Okay, let's go with something a bit more obscure and a little bit more trad metal. A Chicago band called Latent Fury. They were
a headband.
I love it. It was the early 90s, but some of them were still clinging to the 80s just a bit. But yeah,
started out as a Loverboy tribute, apparently. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, sound-wise, they're kind of going a bit more for the. If I didn't know better, if you just played this for somebody and said like, guess where this band's from, a lot of people would probably guess the Pacific Northwest, that they would have fit in with like the whole Queensryche heir apparent kind of that little sort of classier style of U.S. power metal where they were more technically proficient with their instruments, vocalist who's got a higher range, stuff like that. But they were from Chicago, and being from Chicago in '91 and trying to play that style of metal obviously didn't work out that great for them. They did one demo in '91. Only has 3 songs on it. I've had the demo for ages, and it's really good. One of the better U.S. metal demos of that era. The band later switched their name to Ion Vein, and they did release a few albums over the years under that name. So they at least had a little bit of success. What this thing is just an anthology. It's got the original Latent Fury demo on it, and then it's got the entire first Ion Vein LP, and then like a handful of live tracks from their Latent Fury days. So it's loaded up with a ton of stuff. It's on Arcane Steel, which is a Greek label, and they kind of specialize in bands exactly like this. They're not a reissue label. They want to find bands that kind of never got past the demo stage, or if they did, they got to like the self-released cassette album stage. So basically, Arcane Steel wants to be the first ones to help these bands put something out onto compact disc, or at least maybe if they did put it out on CD, it was one of those private things that only got regional attention. So Arcane Steel will help them reissue it and get a little wider distribution. They're always really good at digging up obscure stuff.
The Arcane Steel stuff, I've gotten stuff from them through Stormspell whenever they have their digital stuff. That's usually where I get their CDs.
Yep. Stormspell's a really good outlet to look for them on because they don't get a ton of distribution. Not a lot of outlets in the US carry their stuff. But anytime they put something out, I'll at least stop and check it out. I don't buy all the releases, but they're usually at least interesting because, again, it's these smaller bands, several of who were pretty good, and they just, for a lot of them, they're U.S. bands from the early and mid-'90s, so they were just in the wrong place at the wrong time to get much attention. But, of course, the Greek scene loves that kind of material, and so it's really cool that Arcane Steel will dig those up and check them out. And, yeah, this demo's fantastic. And when I saw this had come out and got a press, it's like, I'll pick that up eventually. I found it not long ago, like really, really cheap on Discogs. Somebody had it to say, yep, okay, time to pull the trigger on that one for sure. So yeah, if you like that sort of, again, lethal or heir apparent style of metal, probably will like this quite a bit too. The demo tracks alone are worth it, but the Ion Vein material is pretty good itself. It's maybe a little more, straightforward, not quite as technical, but still really enjoyable in the same overall vein, shall we say, because they were called Ion Vein.
I'll
go play in the chat for a little bit.
It kind of looks like a vein.
We're just gonna let that one sink in while Marty tells us what he's spinning.
All right. Yep. So I've been doing some errands here the last couple days, driving around town, spinning this release, the latest Borknagar album called Fall.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, the first song on here, Summits, one of the best songs they've ever done. The last 3 minutes of this song are absolutely some of their best material. And it just, the Seaman singing that clean with his odd pitch style, I get teary-eyed every time. It's so emotional, so powerful. The rest of the album is really, really good. I really like the song Moon. Wild Lingers. Nordic Anthem is kind of a downer for me. They follow up such a great song with a kind of a crappy one, but other than that, this album is exceptional. I really, really love Summits, though. It's worth getting this record for that album, for that song alone. Borknagar, they're not really reinventing any wheels in their catalog here. They're just sounding like Borknagar, which is enough because they don't really, there's not a lot of bands that are ripping off the Borknagar sound. You know what I mean? Very Norwegian sounding, very good folky black metal from Norway. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a really good album from last year.
Yeah. Aaron.
All right.
My kid likes it too, so that's another bonus for sure.
Right.
Getting him into the grim vocals, so his world is about to open up once he chooses to step through the door.
All right.
Savage, Loose and Lethal. Actually, this record is the very first time I ever sent away for records over the internet. I was actually working on a project in Topeka, Kansas. For some reason, I was fucking around and I found some record store and they had stuff. And I was like, oh my God, they'll mail that shit to me. And they had this and Darkness Descends by Dark Ninja for $20 each. So I went and got a money order for $40 plus $4 or $5 for shipping or whatever it was at the time. And I got my copy of Loose and Lethal on record. I was like, holy shit, I didn't think I'd ever have this on record, That's just so obscure, right? Like now it's like an obvious band, right? But back when I was, back at the tender age of, 30 or whatever it was.
Right back.
So honestly, though, a lot of people really loved this record. And I definitely like this record a lot. But I feel like it's missing something. There's like a certain ingredient, like the songwriting is good. The performances are good. It's like rough. It's not so rough that it sounds like shit, but it's not so like well produced that it sounds slick or anything like that. It really kind of checks all the boxes, but for some reason, this one just has never quite grabbed me the way some of the other ones have. Now, it is an LP from the new wave of British heavy metal, which is already kind of, that means there's not a lot of competition. Like within that sort of circle, this is easily a top 10 record. But, given that there are only like 9 full-length records from that era, that's not saying very much. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little to be funny. But
That's good.
This is a really cool record. The cover's great. The songs are really good. Everything about it is really good, but there's just something about this thing that I haven't been able to connect with. So it's one of those that I have to pull out every so often because maybe one day I'll figure it out. Might as well show the original Ebony label while we're at it here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe one day the light will go on. I'll be like, holy shit. See, there we go. Metal Neanderthals telling us. A lot of people. I'm expecting 2/3 of the chat to be like, dude, you're fucking nuts.
Yeah. Now, Mark's on the other, Mark's on your side of it. So, yeah, it's.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing I can shit. I just listened to this earlier today. I was like, why do I not love this record? Mm-hmm. I don't have an answer.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you on that one. Like, the opening track, Let It Loose is fantastic. It smokes. And then the rest of the album, to me, is always like, okay, this is pretty good. There's nothing at all wrong with it. But I just don't worship at the altar of it like a lot of folks do for some reason. Don't know. Recently checked out the second LP. I had kind of forgot they even made a second LP for a long time.
Yeah.
But the second one's not bad. It's different. It's later, and you can tell with the sound. But that's the one. And I kind of agree with Mark's point. I think the cool name, the cool logo, the cool album title, and the cool cover artwork kind of subconsciously gives that one a boost for a lot of folks. That maybe the music doesn't quite back up. But it's cool that people like it. It's just, I'm not going to put it on that same pedestal.
What's even worse is that scene of the Crime Comp, the one on Suspect Records that had Sparta. This isn't for Allan, this is for everyone else. Had these guys in Manitou, some nobody band, and Panzer Division, who made a 45 that was pretty corny for a new wave 45. When I listen to that record, I kind of feel like the Savage songs are the ones that, if I weren't too lazy to get up off the couch, I'd probably skip past. And the thing is, you listen to that record, and Savage is a much better band than Manitou, but for some reason I can hang in there with Manitou, and the Savage I'm like, okay, come on, Let It Loose, it's okay,
Yeah. And like Goldie Wax, this is a good point. It has a good guitar tone. It is very raw, but it's also kind of the standard Ebony guitar tone. You can hear a very similar guitar tone on Grim Reaper. You can hear a very similar guitar approach on Chateau albums. So, and maybe that's part of my problem with it, is I know those other albums before I knew Loose and Lethal, and so to me it just kind of became one of those Ebony albums, and so it didn't blow me away the same way. Maybe that's why I have
maybe you're on this high. I didn't already know Chateau when I got the Savage record, at least not when I got it on CD originally, before I got the record. I didn't get the Chateau until a lot later, but I did already have the Grim Reaper. So maybe it was sort of the same thing going on,
Could be. Yeah. And Zorlucky, I mean, those Ebony albums, they have a sound, but and it wasn't a high budget kind of sound.
I wouldn't say horribly tinny. I mean, but that's the thing. There's nothing about this that I would really call horrible. It's just, I don't know. There's just something that leaves me a little bit cold.
Jeff, and save me from typing all this. Jeff, there are Joey Bro t-shirts. It's like him holding nunchucks. God, I wanted to buy you one so bad, but I thought you'd never wear it, so I didn't want to waste some money up front on a joke. But oh my God, so funny. Anyway, Rick.
I ended up getting that Lucid Lethal, that High Roller reissue they did. It's like the slipcase CD with all the extra bonus. So it made it seem like it was something quite special and big, but I don't have a 10 out of 10 opinion on it, like some people in the chats might. It's a good album, but I did find the production a little on the tinier side, but it didn't bother me too much.
Rick, you sent me a copy of that reissue. Thank you for that again.
Oh, it was you. Okay, I thought I remember sending this to somebody.
I think you may have actually sent it to a couple of folks. I seem to remember you had gotten
3 times.
You got a couple of copies and circulated it when we talked about it years ago.
All right. Well, we're on this trajectory. So I must have been like 9 or 10 when I first saw the video for Gutter Ballet. Take me back to the memories at the time.
That's a good album.
It is. It's some people, because they're unfair, try to follow up Hollow Mountain King, right? Like that is, you talk about your magnus opus, but something happened. Phil O'Neill happened, right? And he was very important, to kind of get these guys on this extra mega step. They were already a great band, but I feel like here is where like you can notice that change in direction, kind of where they moved. But I don't know, like I feel like the first half is a little stronger for me. It's kind of like those tracks are a little like, I guess, more of my favorite songs. Obviously, title track. When the crowds are gone, man, you talk about tear jerkers. It's just the kind of stuff that kind of put you here. Summer's Rain, another one. With these one of the last tracks. Oh my God, man! It's when I want to show an example of like really emotive and just really well done solos. Like it's yeah, Chris's work on this is, I don't know what else I can add to it that you guys don't already know. It's something that I put on that's very, very emotive to me. But it's also done very well. It's just really good execution. The whole thing just kind of came together. I think at the time I was too young to really appreciate something like this. When it was coming on, I kind of relegated them to like what the power metal bands or the hair bands were at the time. Again, I was 9 or 10 when this stuff was coming out. I didn't know what to label it. I don't know what it was. It kind of just, I put them there with Queensryche. But I have a different kind of appreciation for Sabotage lately. And yeah, I mean, this is one I never get tired of. Obviously, there are other albums. Streets did not do it as much for me as this one.
That was a grower for me. It was Allan's passion for that record made me really listen to it, and I had to get past the Meatloaf, because there's a Meatloaf element to that album. But once you get past it, it's a good album.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think this is what I put on right before we went on the stream. Just kind of get me pumped up. I feel like when I'm 80% loser, I listen to this, I feel 70% loser. So there's quite there's an improvement to this. It doesn't
0% loser, all good.
So
I've never heard that album. Actually,
I'm good with those numbers.
Yeah. No, that's a really cool album, Rick. It's a transitional album. You're exactly right. It's still got a little bit of the old sound on tracks like Of Rage and War and stuff and Hounds, but then you've got some of those pieces that kind of foretell what they're going to do later on. And those pieces are gorgeous. Like you named Summer Rain and When the Crowds Are Gone. Yeah, that stuff's fantastic. And I've been really impressed. That album has held up great over the years. And the heavy tracks work really well too. It's not like they just had a couple of leftovers that they mixed in with this new direction. The heavy tracks on that one, for the most part, are really, really good, as are the more, kind of Broadway sounding ones.
Dude, did you just say Summer Rain and When the Crowds Are Gone?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That sounds pretty lugubrious for a metal album, don't you think?
That is only the second time in heavy metal history someone has used the word lugubrious, I think. Yeah. Aaron and Jeff Wagner now have the market cornered on that one.
I learned a new Sesame Street word of the day. Thank you.
Lugubrious. $5 words. Pay the lady. All right, Allan.
Let's see. Yep, there you go, Jay. Okay, let's talk about this one. The Obsessed, The Church Within. Of course, Wino's big doom band. I've always had a weird relationship with The Obsessed. They're one of those names you always hear a ton about, in these kind of, odd and, hushed and legendary tones. And then when you go to look in their catalog, there's just not a lot there.
Yeah.
It's really funny. They seem to be this band that everyone apparently knew about in the 80s, except that, it must have strictly been from a live environment, because they really didn't release hardly anything in the 80s. There's a single, there's, a little bit, but they didn't really release an album until they already broken up. Wino had gone and done St. Vitus for a number of years, and then kind of came back around with, what is it? Lunar Womb, I think, may have been the first one they actually released. And then, Church Within came out around 93. There are songs on here that I like a lot. As an overall album, it's never quite won me over 100%. It's kind of like, there'll be a really good heavy song, and then there's a couple that just kind of, go through the motions. Then there'll be another really good song, and then there's two more tracks that are kind of like, well, it's okay, but it's not really blowing my mind. So I go back and forth on this album. I bought it pretty much the day it came out. I don't remember how I'd heard so much about it, but it may have just been, again, the fact that, oh, hey, that band that everyone talks about has finally got an album out. I played it a lot. I got rid of it. I checked it out again years later. I think I got rid of it again. So yeah, it's a very back and forth album for me. It's not a bad album, but it's also kind of long. It's 12 tracks, 11 tracks? No, 13 tracks, at least on this pressing. And it feels like for 13 songs, there's just not quite enough really top-notch ones here to ever, stay on the shelf and come off and get regular spins. It's one of those things you feel like you should like it more than you do. A little bit like Loose and Lethal we were talking about a few minutes ago. It's like, why don't I like this more? I don't know. Some of it just comes across a little bit flat. And it's something that happens with some of the other bands out of that whole Maryland, Northern Virginia doom scene. There's some cool stuff and cool records out of that scene, but there's a lot of the bands that sound a little bit too much alike and just kind of do the same.
Compare that to Be Forewarned, like head to head. I mean, to me, there's a huge difference in quality that year. When they came out, who put up a better album that year?
Oh yeah. I mean, Be Forewarned has more. Will crush you harder. With half of one song than this whole album will. And again, it's not that it's a bad album. It just feels like it needs, I don't know if it needed to be shorter or it needed a few more real crushing, catchier, heavier songs. It's like right there. It's so close, but it's just not quite, on that real legendary level for me. But yeah, revisited it, gave it a few more spins and kind of had the same reaction to it that I've had for a number of years now. It's like, yeah, okay. I'll keep it on the shelf for now, but I have a feeling it'll be a long time before it comes back off the shelf for another test drive.
I almost never pulled that one. It's either the first one. It's for some reason I don't know. Like there's a lot of mid 90s doom albums I skip over unless it's just certain bands, but that one I never pull for some reason.
Yeah. And it's nothing with Wino. I like his voice. I like all the material he's done with Vitus over the years. The Obsessed material, I just have a little more trouble overall getting into. But, yep, that's just me. Folks can yell at me in the chat because I'm sure some folks really dig them. Interceptor. Oh, yeah, that's a really good album, Neanderthal. My local store actually stocked that Interceptor album. The guy went down to Charleston and got some copies from the band and brought them back up to this side of the state. So, yep, that one's cool. If folks don't know, it's a band Aaron's talked about from Charleston called Interceptor. Pure Venom worship, like early Venom, good Venom. It's very, very fun, straightforward. You know exactly what they're trying to do. They're on Bandcamp. Aaron, you went and saw them a few months ago, right?
Oh, I've seen them a couple times at this point, like maybe 3 times. But yeah, here's their latest single, which finally showed up, Sorceress. I mean, what a cover, right? How can you not want that in your collection?
Cool.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nice.
So, yeah. Nice and a private looking label there. Just like it is. Yeah, so y'all better go get one of these because otherwise I'm going to be showing it in 5 years. It's going to be a $300 record and you're going to be so bummed. It'll just be me and Allan showing it, just like so many other. Never mind, I won't even start down that path. Anyway, Interceptor fucking rules. I'm happy to hype him again.
Yeah. There's nothing not to love about
anyway. I almost pulled some out anyway, but I was like, I've been laying it on a little thick with those guys.
All right. Well, this is an album that I picked up because I'm a fan of this band, but I have not put the time in. I've only spun it once. But the Lord Weird Sluffeg with Radical Man.
I don't have that one.
This is demos. It's a demo compilation. And one song, Radical Man, was recorded in 97 that wasn't a demo, I guess, just was never released until this. I don't know. I don't know the specifics more or less, but it's on Nameless Grave. This band is just, they stand alone, and they were doing it early on. They were strange, but so classy. They just had they had the riffs, they had the unique vocals, they had unique lyrical concepts, everything about this band.
They had the hooks.
They had the hooks, man. And just as they've gone on, I think maybe their best albums are behind them, but they're even, and I mentioned this in the review that Allan and I collaborated on. Even Sluffeg at Half Mast is still better than most bands. It's just, they have just such a free way of playing guitar and the way the guitarists interact with each other. They're just a great band. You know, this is a fun listen. This is kind of a for the fans type of thing. Again, I need to spend more time with it. I've dug it out, put it on the other day, finally, after owning it for a couple months. And yeah, I mean, even early on, these guys were doing their own thing, and they sound like no one else. And I really, really appreciate and respect them for that, for sure.
Yeah.
Great
Marty,
band.
do you have their other demo collection, the one that came out about, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago? It has like a white and orange cover.
There's something about the Slee Stack on it.
Yeah,
I
the
do not
Slay
have that
Stack
one.
continues. Okay.
I do not have that one. No.
Yeah, I got that one when it came out and wasn't really impressed with the demo stuff that was on it. So I never even looked at picking up Radical Man, but it could be a completely different set of demos. I didn't even check.
They definitely refined their sound as they started getting into putting out albums. You could tell they laid the framework with this stuff, but the albums themselves are shit. The Twilight of the Gods, Twilight of the Idols, Down Among the Dead Men. What a riff monster of an album.
Yeah.
And A Traveler, of course, is a perfect riff album. That album from start to finish is wow, just so good. And
Jay,
even Atavism.
Oh yeah, I put Atavism on that list too for sure. That's like the three for me.
Yep.
Atavism, Traveler, and Down Among the Dead Men. The others are really good too. If I only had the other ones, I'd still really like them a lot.
Yeah.
Those three are just godly.
Yep.
Yeah, those are the three folks gravitate towards. Jay, I think it's Slay Stack on the album title, but yeah, I know what you mean with Slay Stacks, because those things give me nightmares to this day. they haunted my childhood bedtime.
Best thing about that show was how creepy the damn Slee Stack were.
Oh, those things were creepy as fuck, man.
Yeah,
Don't get me started. I'll be waking up in a cold sweat tonight.
Most of the people wearing those costumes had nightmares themselves, just because the trauma having to wear those costumes
all day.
Yeah. The trauma they caused me, fuck them. I don't care how much heat rash they got.
Right.
It serves them right for terrorizing my 6-year-old self.
And it was always on Saturday morning cartoon time too. It was.
Yep.
You had to watch it, and I always watched it. Very cool.
It's like when I was watching that Saturday mornings, the show was already long over, but I was that age where there were those reruns. But when you're a kid, you don't know this, so you think it's still kind of new.
Let me ask a question for anybody out there: is Saturday morning cartoons even still a thing?
Oh no, it died a long time ago.
I can't remember the last time I was up in time on a Saturday for cartoons.
That was a thing. That was a thing of beauty. I looked so forward to getting up in the morning to watch Saturday morning cartoons, and even in younger, when I was in grade school, getting up early enough to watch Rocky and Bullwinkle. Rocky and Bullwinkle were on like before you go to school, so you just sit there and eat your breakfast and watch Rocky and Bullwinkle.
I don't know how I don't have diabetes. I would eat like 3-4 bowls of cereal. Like
I don't know. Yeah, I do, but yeah, good time.
Moose and the squirrel.
Yep. All right, Aaron. Now that we've done our boomer part here.
All right. Well, here I'll show a lesser known one now. I don't know if this has been shown on the channel before. Saber, Keepers of the Sword.
Nice.
Yeah, apparently. So this record is in Karlsruhe. Was recorded in Karlsruhe, which was actually named for Charlemagne. Karlsruhe. I guess that was like one of his like resort towns or something like that. It was a resort town they set up for Charlemagne. So a little bit of history, but anyway, apparently these guys were Americans who were stationed in Germany, and they got together and made a record. So the record was actually pressed in Germany, but they were actually an American band, and that would also explain why none of them actually have long hair on the back too. If you notice that.
Mm-hmm.
Not the greatest record of all time, and in a way, the whole Keepers of the Sword thing is a little bit misleading because the Keepers of the Sword is the first song on here, and it sounds like the first song on what's going to be like a really sort of epic metal record. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of understated and sort of creeps up like the way the riffs are written and shit like that. And then after that, it kind of just goes into pretty straight ahead metal. It's funny. I remember this as being more sort of party metal than it was when I last time I listened to it, but it's really just the song Blonde and 16, which is that, like even songs like Rock Forever. I mean, yeah, it's kind of corny, but it's a banger. There's nothing wrong with that song. And there's Night of the Axe and that on here. It's really a pretty straight ahead heavy metal record. Not the greatest thing ever, frankly, probably not worth what some people are asking for the thing if you find it for sale. But it's an interesting piece, man. It's an unusual record just for what it is. And what a great cover, man. How can you not want that? That's why I got it. All right.
No, that's a cool pick, Aaron. Haven't seen that one in a long time.
Someone asked if Alex asked if the same saber that did the album with the Panther on it.
No, different band. These guys are one and done. I think the Panther one on the Prowl is one and done too. Actually, I think I have that one too. Hang on a sec.
Yep. Yeah, there's a few different sabers, and most of them are one and dones.
A cursed name.
It kind of feels that way. There's at least one, if not two, new wave of British heavy metal bands that use the name.
This one, you mean?
Yeah, with the big saber-toothed cat.
I think the Keepers of the Sword is a better band than these guys. I want to say these guys were Canadian, but I'm not sure about that.
I think you're right, but I will not bet money on it.
Frosty Thundercats ruled, as did Thundar the Barbarian.
Nice.
The Thundercats even came back here like within the last 10 years with new animation. I watched all of it. It was awesome. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Totally fun.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No one ever talked about Wheeled Warriors, man. That was the one with the plants. I'm like thinking that show will end when he finds his father, right?
Which one is this, Rick?
Which one?
Wheeled Warriors. It was like these trucks, and it had like these plants, and it's like the drill, and like the claw, and all that shit. That's what I mean. No one talks about it.
Someone was stoned as fuck. We'll have trucks. We'll have trucks with plants on them, man.
Back to the weeds again.
It was a wizard. Like they had like how like Thundercats had like the snarf, right? Like there was like there was always that one weird quirky character. They had like their own.
The Orco character, yeah.
Orco, that's what it was. Yeah. I'm not even high. All right. Maybe I should. That will fix it.
They're animating the series and listening to Bong Jizzer in the background. All right, Rick, you're up.
Am I breaking a streak? Did we do any black metal yet?
Did
Marty
Aham Kara and
yeah, that's true.
Okay. So something funny happens every time. So I got a few like Waltane records, right? And whenever I gravitate towards like the W, it's like that Mario Wario thing where like the M turns into a W and the other way around, right? So I gravitate towards the Waltane, but I get pulled back in, and I end up in the Marduk section. For some reason, it just happens. Oh, I don't know. It's like, help me.
Is that World Funeral?
So I got World Funeral here. Last one with Legion, and just kind of revisiting this time, and I gotta say, like, is it a little tired? I get a bit of that vibe coming from here. I mean, we're talking about Marduk here, but I still enjoy it, man. Like, it's a little, what do you call it? A little more pummeling in the beginning, towards the first half of the album, and I feel like it kind of gets a little more. They're more focused on the riffy, or a little more. I don't know what the word is. Just groovier towards the second half of the album.
Groovier.
I feel funny saying that.
That's not the right adjective.
I don't know. I don't have a vocabulary today. I need Aaron to help me out here with the 6-syllable words. But I don't know. Like, it's just there's a charm to this for this time period. And I go back to, like, I do appreciate. I don't know what is Legion doing nowadays. Like, but it's like I like Mortis. With those records. But my favorite Marduk albums are the ones with Legion on them for some reason.
He probably works in the warehouse at IKEA.
It might be it. Maybe I shouldn't have quit that gig. You know what I mean? It's like, so that now the pentagram tattoos will make sense. Here at IKEA, it did in this band. No, but it's, I don't know. Like, between this, I don't play Plague Angel as much. It's like, for some reason I go back to this one a little, more often. It's just different energy. When I want to keep pieces of my skull intact. That's why I don't put on bands with Division as much nowadays. But I don't know. It's just I don't know. I still enjoy this band. Like,
they're still good. Their latest album is really good.
Yeah, again, I don't know what the general consensus is on this. Yeah, the one before this was that Dance Macabre, whatever before this one. That's what I don't really. That's the one I usually skip over. But yeah, but this I tend to enjoy more. I don't know. Kind of last hurrah, but I don't know. I like it. Gives me the feels.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I dig it too.
World Funeral.
Typically, whenever I listen to them, it's usually Panzer Division, though. I really always like the blasting statement of that one. It's just catchy and fast and good road trip album.
It's like depends on the mood I'm in. Like if I want to my skull bashed in, I'll put that in. If I want to cry, I'll put on that Sabotage album, and then there's stuff in between. Everything else. So yeah. World Funeral.
All right, Allan.
All right, just replying to Mark real quick in the chat there. Everyone's still on the nostalgia toys and Saturday morning cartoon kick.
Yep.
So, picked this up as kind of a blind buy. Yeah, spoiler alert, it didn't work out that great. It's a
Roll the bones.
Band called Almanac. Not the most heavy metal sounding thing.
They're pretty cool, but they're no Abacus.
I really should have held out, for the demos when they were called Farmer's Almanac.
Yeah, they got sued.
But there were a couple of things that made me, decide to take a chance on this. One, it's obviously a power metal thing, and not a lot of used power metal shows up at stores around here. So already it's kind of like, that's different. Had not heard of them. They were on Nuclear Blast, so it's like, okay, it's not just some random, fly by night that nobody's ever heard of for a good reason. If they're on Nuclear Blast, they probably had something going for them. And then you might notice behind the name, the actual emblem. Let me get it out here where it is a little more visible. Behind the almanac, you've got, at first it just looks like some kind of fancy, cartography thing, but it's an interlocked V and S, as in Victor Smolsky, as in the hotshot guitarist from Rage. And they're like, yeah. And they're, I don't remember.
I'm more interested now. I'm more interested.
Exactly. Same here. It's like, oh, yeah. Smolsky, some of the Rage albums with him are really good. He's, a very dynamic guitar player. And Almanac is one of the projects he fired up when his tenure with Rage came to an end. So I'm like, okay, it's $6.99. Sure, let's just buy it and find out. I am a bit sad to report that Victor is not playing at the same level on here as he did when he was with Rage. With Rage, he developed a very distinctive style that really shows off his talent. On this one, it feels like he's actually holding back a bit. And part of it may just be the direction of the material. This album, after playing it a few times, I walked away with the conclusion that this really should have been called Victor Smolsky's Avantasia Wannabe. That he's kind of trying to do that style of thing, except he doesn't have the extra vocalists to help out. And as such, it feels a bit plain. So, I would much have preferred that, he did something that let him really show off his kind of, fiery guitar acrobatics more within like, a really solid heavy metal framework. And instead, he's kind of, maybe sitting back a little bit more. Every song just feels like, a nonstop chorus from beginning to end. And it just kind of wears you out after a bit. It's like, if you like that style a lot, it's okay. And maybe I'm just not in the mood for that style lately. But this one is kind of like, well, yeah, that was $7. But yeah, again, it had some things going for it. I thought it was worth taking a chance on. Wish it was a little better. Reviews have indicated that the first album they did might have been a little stronger. This is the second one. But I don't see myself taking a chance on the first one if it shows up as well. So yeah, sometimes you gamble and lose. Almanac, can't really recommend it unless you're just a diehard Avantasia style of power metal fanboy. If that's your jam, sure, go for it. But yeah, it's Smolsky's not doing what he needs to be doing, and that's the biggest letdown here.
Right, he's trying to cash in instead of doing what he's supposed to do.
It really does feel like he's trying to attract a broader audience rather than just letting it rip like he obviously we know he can.
Oh, he's a great guitar player.
Yeah. Oh well, I shall sit here and commiserate with folks in the chat while Marty shows us something else he's been listening to.
Dude, that band name Almanac makes me feel old.
Yeah, it's not a
Feels
great.
tiring. Like, yeah.
The name fit that wouldn't. See, that was one thing that kind of held me back. Like, why would you call your project Victor Smolsky's Almanac?
That's a really
It's
bad name, dude.
Is it worse than that Candlemass side, like algebra or whatever? Like it's
The abstract algebra. Yeah,
That
Leaf
would be
Eidling's
fine
project.
right
Yeah, and Aaron, I kind of convinced myself standing there in the record store that it was just another case of the lovable Germans losing a note in translation somehow, and like, well, maybe in German, almanacs, like some kind of like badass, Book of the Dead, spells to
Grimoire, yeah.
reanimate, or something. I don't think that's correct now.
Can you imagine being approached by him to be a contributing musician to that? What's the name of the band, man? Victor Smolsky's Almanac. What?
Like,
What did you say? What did you say? Yeah.
We're going to rule the world and tour and have chicks throwing their underwear at us as Almanac. Like they'll be coming up backstage afterwards. Mr. Smolsky, will you please sign my Almanac? Doesn't work.
I mean, Bashful is kind of the standard in my mind. I still haven't come across a worse band name than Bashful, right?
That's so stupid. Oh my god.
That's a tough one to beat.
But it doesn't make me feel old the way Almanac does. Almanac is just like, it's like Bashful is kind of funny that they were dumb enough to do that. Almanac, it's like you don't even have that, so it might even be worse. Man, I don't know, man. Makes me feel like you live too long.
It is. You've got a point, Aaron. It's like, who under the age of 50, would even register the name Almanac for any particular reason? It's like, now that you mention it, the first song title is "Tell Me About the War, Grandpa." Maybe that should have been a warning sign too.
Okay, well, this is a case where I'm gonna have to dial up the share screen here. Okay, I'll preface it by saying this: my kid is getting into metal, and thanks to the algorithm of Spotify, he is finding all these other new bands that fit within the stuff that he likes. So, and he likes going for a ride in the car. We'd run a lot of errands, and I always make sure I take the long way home so we can listen to whatever he wants to listen to. And he's like, "Hey, Dad, have you ever heard this band called Sirius Black?" I'm like, "No." I said, "Nope." "Why not?" I said, "Because it's a stupid name." "Why is this?"
If the album's called Slithering, I am out.
I said, because it's a Harry Potter reference. He's like, "Oh, okay." Well, anyway, he pulls up this album. Let me get here. It's going to take me 2 seconds. Share this.
Marty, just to be clear, so he didn't even register that it was a Harry Potter reference.
No, his mom is one of the biggest Harry Potter fans ever. I've liked the movies. On trips, I've listened to the books on tape with her. And I mean, the stories are fantastic, but a band based on the lore of that, I'm just like, I don't give a shit. But anyway, he pulls this up. It's the debut album from Sirius Black called As Daylight Breaks. Can you see this? Is it coming up on the screen?
Yeah.
Yep, it's there.
Well, come to find out, as it's playing, I'm like, this is pretty fucking good. This is Sirius Black are a international band featuring ex-members of current supergroup, originally featuring ex-members of Halloween, Blind Guardian, Tad Morose, and Dark Peter's band that was supposed to be in Halloween. Dark
Avenger, Funeral, Night.
No, they're a power metal band from Germany. Allan, help me out.
I know what you're referring to. I don't remember one of the band's names being Dark.
It's more fun to just guess.
There's Iron. They did
Iron Savior. The drummer for Iron
You're thinking
Savior.
Dark Assault, maybe.
Yeah, okay, Dark Assault. The drummer from Iron Savior's in the band. Well, anyway, and it also features Roland Grapow on the first 3 albums.
Please tell me this band includes former members of the Death Eaters.
Well, I can tell you. Hold on. This album, I hear what you're saying. I just got it. I'm trying to navigate this crap a little bit drunk. It's got Mario Lachert, Tillman Stout, who I don't know who that is, Dominic Sebastian, Roland Grapow, songwriting, guitars, and lyrics, Jan Vakic, and Urban Breed. They've got a long list of credentials behind them, but I was surprised. This album is actually really good power metal. It sounds very German. The soloing is fantastic, of course. And you can tell it's Roland when he does play the solo because he always played with the Strats and he always play on that neck pickup. So it's a cleaner tone. I'm surprised. And the kid's going to be buying this record. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm kind of glad it's entering the house because I did enjoy it. So this is one of those instances where the kid is starting to turn me on to shit, which is fun and cool and very psyched about that. But yeah, so there you go, folks. There's some Halloween for you. Drink if you want.
It's cool that you can bond like that too, man. Like a lot of parents can't say the same. You know what I mean? Like the kids are all listening to Machine Gun Kelly. But your kids into some actual cool shit.
Dude, it could have went a lot of bad ways, but he's also getting into Men at Work, which is really weird. He's like, "Have you ever heard the band Men at Work?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've got Business as Usual I had when I was a kid." I gave it to him, and he's like, "I really like that record." I'm like, "Oh, cool. I mean, that's good 80s shit. I like Men at Work too." So,
dude, my younger kid really liked Men at Work too. I was like, "Why did you latch onto this of all things?" Actually, what happens? He was listening to it one day. And I went into his room and I recognized it was in the middle of the sax solo on "Who Can It Be Now."
Yeah,
I was like 11 when that came out. I listened to it so much. I know
me too.
That record,
a lot. Yeah.
So I identified it within like a second, literally, and I was like, "You impressed that I know it that well?"
Yeah. Yep. That and Cargo. I was a big fan of that, and he's into that. It's just weird. It's cool the shit he's getting into, and the fact that he's turning me on to stuff is pretty cool.
Very nice. Hey, Rick, help me out for a second with something you just said, because I've always wondered this.
Harry Potter related?
No, Machine Gun Kelly related. Does he do anything other than Megan Fox?
He doesn't even do her anymore.
I have never understood what this person is supposed to be famous for.
He's a
always
rapper.
Shows up on those stupid things. And it's just like, and you are being featured in the news feed because why?
He's a rapper. Now he got popular switching over to rock.
He's just kind of there.
He just seems to be one of those names that they feel like they have to insert into, the random little, random headlines like once every 4 days but there's never a reason. It's always just like, this guy is like walking down the street.
Just my goal.
Who the fuck cares?
All right. Hey, I got some serious black people here. What's up, William? Cheers, man. Simon. We love you, Simon. All right. Let's see. Who is next? It is Aaron is back.
All right. Shit. Now I'm behind. What do I want to show next? Oh, let's go. Actually, let's go with this one. I kind of forgot about this one until I came across it today, flipping through some shit. So,
why did they do it backwards? Why is it backwards?
I don't know. I haven't filed under N though.
Because there was already a demon, so they had to switch. They flipped the name around instead of changing their name.
Yeah. So is it No Med or No Mead? No Mead sounds worse. You don't want to be out of mead.
Don't want to be out of mead.
Especially not if you're listening to metal. It's funny because I was just talking in my last video about that Jester Beast record and how that was kind of too punky for my taste. I could really level the same accusations at this record, but this record kind of does it for me. Even with that really blatant SOD ripoff and shit. Yeah, this is a nobody French band. I don't even know if they consider themselves a metal band as opposed to a punk band, but they sure sound more like a metal band to me, just, with a lot of sort of punk aesthetic to it, Yeah, it's one of those delightful albums that actually says on the label that it plays at 33, but you immediately, or if you're me, after a song and a half, figure out that it's supposed to be played at 45. So it sounds pretty good at 33 too. It's a lot doomier, but at 45, it's just it's just solid thrash shit. Kind of, really very rough. Not like poorly produced rough, just like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an analogy here. It just, I don't know, it's just rough sounding, and I don't know, I don't have a whole shit ton to say about it, I guess. This record just kind of does it for me. If this were 10 songs instead of 6, I'd probably get bored with it. But 6 songs is just about right. And yeah, I can get behind Nomad for 6 songs. Does anyone else have this?
Nope.
No.
Don't
I don't know where I first heard about this one, but yeah, there we go.
Everybody, Jason Hook and Aaron the Metal Theologian are going to be uniting here next month, going on a shopping trip together. Color me jealous next week. Man, getting in that sweet, sweet van, cruising up and down, getting some music. Fun times. Fun times. All right, Rick, you're up.
Hey, actually, real quick. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Rick, but just to typos comment here about playing a record at the wrong speed. The Vulcano record, the Brazilian band, I had their first record for like a year before I realized it was supposed to be playing it at 45 instead of 33. And I was like, God damn, this is some of the heaviest shit I've ever heard, man.
Like you bought 2 records for the price of 1.
Were they a Cogomelo band at all? I don't remember if they were. But I don't know if they put out stuff on the wrong speed that often.
Who, Vulcano?
Oh, well, Cogomelo. I don't know if they were they on that label?
They might have been. I have a reissue on I Hate Records, I think out of Sweden. So anyway, that specific one they mastered at 45, and it sounds great at 45. I mean, it's still a really good record, but I admit I was a tiny bit disappointed when I realized that they weren't quite as unique as I thought they were when I was listening to them on the wrong speed.
Perhaps a good argument for CDs, because you're not going to fuck that up. You put in a CD, you're pretty much guaranteed it's the speed it was intended, right?
I can actually think of one CD where they did fuck it up, Marty.
Really?
I don't remember which label did it, but when they did the Witchfinder General live, I think it's live from like 1983 recording, and this came out like 20 years ago or so.
On
the first batch of CDs are at the wrong. They mastered the whole thing at the wrong speed. They basically mastered it at 30. It sounds like it's playing at 33 when it's supposed to play at 45. And it was funny because I didn't get it right away, but somebody sent me a copy of it, and when I put it in and listened to it, I'm just like going back to Aaron's comment earlier, I was like, wow, even the live album sounds like it was recorded in a toilet. And just like, this is quirky. Why are they playing it so slow? And then it came as like, oh yeah, we kind of messed that up. They did redo it at the right speed, but yeah, if you ended up with one of the very first CDs out of the first batch, it's everything's at this very, very slow. I'm the Witchfinder General.
Yeah,
I can't believe they let him go out like that.
Yep. It's weird but true.
Yep. All right, Rick.
I feel like the people who do the QA with these records don't listen to metal themselves, so they don't know what the speed is supposed to be. They just,
it's heavy. The kids will like it.
You may not be wrong about that.
It's fast and it's noisy. It's all that matters, right?
Carl, yeah, you're right, Carl. It was an NWN release. Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know how many of you have been catching Coroner on their tour. It's cool that they're they're back on the road and doing what they do. And but I kind of gotten a kick because it's that style of thrash that every now and then I miss, because I feel like a lot of bands, there was something special about them.
They're dark. They're a very dark band.
The way they do the technicality and the way they still kind of have atmosphere to their stuff, depending on the album.
Then Grin came along.
Anyway, the Grin stuff was pretty good live, though.
You're drinking the Kool-Aid. You're drinking the Kool-Aid.
They just sounded good.
Yeah.
But
they're a good band, 100%.
This band, I kind of looked at them as a bit of like a Canadian Coroner, with a little bit of other influences. But Disciples of Power, I feel like at the Shaft, when it came to that, this is their debut, Power Trap, fucking great, This to me kind of scratches that similar itch, you brought up because we were talking about Finland earlier and just weird quirky bands, you brought up Voivod, you know what I mean? Like, again, when you talk about these Canadian bands, but I feel like this is one of those bands that gets kind of always glossed over, over everybody else. But I feel like these guys kind of stepped up to the plate, like a lot of these other bands. But for some reason, they just, I don't know if it was the label I don't know what label they were on. This is a Blood Harvest reissue. But man, it's got all the hallmarks. It ticks all the same check boxes, that those other bands.
Title. The plural name, Disciples of Power. That sounds like a punk band.
Power.
It does sound like a punk band, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything else about it, dude, the guy's hair on the back fucking rules, dude.
Oh yeah, like
Jesus.
the thing with the word power, it could be anything. There's a band called Circus of Power, right? Like they're not thrash, but you know.
Yeah, they're not.
I like this sort of like this King Buzzle kind of thing he's got going on here. Like,
Totally.
no, but you know, this is a great band. You know, but I feel like they took a bit of that corner path where like they released a slew of albums, they kind of just stopped. It's so, you know, technically they're still active. I don't know if they're actually doing any shows. There's not one of those bands that I see around doing any gigs. You know, maybe they just do it in Canada. I don't know, but apparently they're still active. But man, if you want to scratch that corner kind of itch with a bit of the sadist, again, they're just as dark. They're pretty technical. They have really interesting like intricacies, you know, going on with their sound. Easy to get through. You know, it's about 40 minutes, something like that. So, you know, it's not going to overstay its welcome. But there's enough here to really or the variety kind of going on to keep things interesting. But man, I wish people would talk more about this band.
When is that record from?
Well, this is the Blood Harvest pressing. I don't know what you.
Okay.
But, I don't know what the OG label was on. I'm thinking that's probably part of the problem. Is maybe they just did not get the promotion, or they just were not at the. This came out in '89, so they were at the right place at the right time. You know, when that stuff was happening. You know, so, you know, again, Coroner were putting out their stuff, you know, well on the other side of the world, but man, like there was other bands also doing that kind of sound, you know, at the same time. So if you like your technical thrash, you know, this is another band that I feel like got overlooked a lot. But man, if you're gonna start with this band, this is a good one. Power Trap.
That's a great cover.
Yeah, you know, it even looks like that time period. I mean, you got the skull with it looks like a hypodermic or some other stuff going on. It would make a great tattoo.
But then you don't get a second tattoo.
Yep.
So, yeah.
On your face.
It's like power.
All right, Allan.
All right. So let's see how much of a kerfluffle this creates. Once again, I've tried a Rush album. With somewhat better results this time than typically. Yeah, I have tried to like Rush many times over the years, and they've never really become my thing. There's a song here and a song there and a song here and a song there, but in terms of a full-length album, I've never walked away from one really, really loving it. But I tried again, this time with Permanent Waves. Why? I don't know. I'm just a glutton for punishment. I will say this one I feel like is getting closer to an album I will enjoy by Rush. It starts really well, you know, and it's got the two, you know, hits are the lead-off tracks, Spirit of Radio and Free Will. And the rest of the album, I haven't found a song on it that really connects with me completely yet. But at the same time, I haven't found a bunch of songs where I feel like I just don't want to listen to this anymore either. I think one thing that's helping here is this is the point where they started keeping the song lengths shorter. They were really starting to focus on getting the songs more compact. You were done with all the, you know, Cygnus X1 Part 3. We're going to, you know, jack off for 20 minutes on one side of a record for all over again. The longest one here is Natural Science, and it's still under 10 minutes. And I think that's a better direction for me and Rush to find some common ground with. Those long tracks I never get into. And I know for some folks, it's like the best shit ever recorded, and that's totally cool. It just doesn't work for me when I have to sit through 23 minutes of some kind of, you know, 70s space opera with Geddy Lee singing it. But this one feels like, okay, maybe with enough spins, more of these tracks will sink in. It's possible. So I think I'm going to start hanging out more with, like, you know, the early 80s kind of Rush and see if that is just, you know, maybe that's the era of Rush for me more so than the 70s era. Don't know. It's one of those bands that I keep, you know, every now and then feel like, well, I haven't tried that one. And again, this was like, you know, what was it? You know, $4 or $5 or something for a used copy. It's like, Okay, well, we'll give them one more try. If nothing else, nobody can ever accuse me of not giving Rush a fair chance. For a band that I'm not really that keen on, I think I currently own 8 CDs by them.
That's what I did with Thin Lizzy. I just gave up eventually.
I am putting in the effort. I'm trying, and
even Thunder and Lightning.
I feel with Permanent Waves, I'm getting closer. So that maybe this era is maybe there's a chance.
I feel like they're one of those bands where like the fan base would turn you off before you even check them out. You know, again, if you're one of those people who haven't checked them out yet.
It doesn't help sometimes. I mean,
again, I don't know. The fan base is they seem all like normal dudes. You know, they're kind of, you know, they are. Maybe they're the kids that had the watch that was a calculator in school, which I was always really psyched about. But other than that, I don't know.
Yeah, I get Rick's point though, because it is a fan base that they're kind of like the Dream Theater fan base. The people that are into them are so fucking into them that when they're talking to you about the band, it's like when you're listening to your math professor in 8th grade. You just cannot connect with the words coming out of their mouth. It's just like, okay, you're talking about, you know, Neil Peart's personal philosophy and, you know, what Ayn Rand book he was reading in 1977. And what the fuck does this have? Just tell me what they sound like. Just tell me an album to pick. I don't need a 45-page dissertation explaining the ins and outs of the symbolism behind hemispheres. Just play a song that, you know, I might like.
That's where I'm like, yeah, I thought Ayn Rand was hot shit too when I was like 15. You know,
well, and even Peart later kind of, you know,
admitted that to Ayn Rand's work or Ayn Rand's, which
we didn't have to go down that fucking rabbit hole. I don't have a whole lot of respect for that. Yeah. Anyway, you want to know what my principal association with that record is?
What's that?
Here, pull it out again for a sec. Take a look at the cover.
Mm-hmm.
Allan Typo saying, "Speaking ill of Rush is punishable by 5 listening sessions of Johnny Be Good by Judas Priest." Just saying.
I'm making the face behind the CD right now. I promise, Typo.
So, Allan, tell me, doesn't she have a dick?
I haven't really looked at it that much.
Dude, she totally has a dick.
It's Bush.
Dude, I was a friend of mine had that record, and he would like argue with me about that. I'd be like, dude, look, she totally has a dick. And he'd be like, no, she does not have a dick, dude. And then, like, you know, we'd argue about it for like, I'd come over to his house and I'd pull it out and be like, dude, she totally has a dick. I kept that joke going for years. Except it kind of looks like she does.
I'll let everyone decide for themselves. I'm not sure. I'm not going to make a call on something this important right here.
Now everyone is thinking about it, and that's exactly what I was going for.
I don't care.
Everybody will see. But yeah, I'm trying. I'm bless my heart. I'm putting in the work on Rush, even if I never get there. I did walk down that path many a time.
Rick kind of nailed it though with the whole like philosophy thing. Like the whole 2112 thing just put me off so much. I've actually never owned a record past their third one, just because I was like, I'm just not buying what you're selling with this fucking bullshit. You know, like this fucking like story you're trying to. I'm like, dude, you're dumb. You know.
Yeah, I mean, and it surprised me. Like when I went to put this one on the shelf, I'm just like, okay, I'll give it a chance. It's like, oh, there's some more Rush CDs here. How many are there?
Yeah.
Like, why the hell do I have 7 Rush CDs?
I think the Venn diagram, by the way, of Rush fans and Dream Theater fans is a circle.
It almost has to be, yeah. Yep, I would agree.
It's no Almanac, that's for sure.
You know, Rush is a better name than Almanac. So I'll tip my hat to Rush for that.
There is no Venn diagram for Almanac and Rush fans. Those two geometric shapes do not intersect one another.
I think that's because the circle representing the Almanac fans is just a dot.
It's a dot, but it's over in this quadrant of space, you know, on a completely separate plane from the one the circle is drawn on.
Oh, everybody in the chat is gathering the wagons and the pitchforks and the flaming bales of hay to roll into your home here in a minute. It looks like.
I told Aaron before the show started, like, I'm going to talk about Rush again, and it's going to rile people up again. But I'm trying, folks. I am trying. I really am.
That's more your demographic too. When I was back in high school, it was the Tool fans. You know, like that was my era, and those people.
I've never heard a whole Tool album, and TJ's big into Tool, and I just do not give a shit. They're cool. I've seen the videos on MTV back in the day, and they're a good, cool band, but I just don't care. Again, I think Scott or someone was saying, "Oh, Alex, some bands I just feel they make me feel dumb." Tool's one of them. I do like Rush, but I do see some people say I don't know if I'm smart enough to like Rush. I get it, but
yeah. I think just to put a pin in it and wrap it up, I think at the end of the day, my biggest thing with Rush is they're just not heavy enough for me, and that's okay. I mean, it's a product of their time. They're a '70s hard rock band.
More
that's
blast
fine.
beats.
I think they're just not quite heavy enough for me. That if I'm going to listen to something like that, I want it to be at least it needs to be a little bit heavier most of the time.
Here's the other thing that eats at me, though, is that most of the bad things you can say about Rush, you could also say about Budgie. And I really like Budgie. But he has the annoying singer, too. You know what I mean? They have the lyrics where they were clearly overthinking shit. And you're like, come on, nude disintegrating parachutist woman, fuck you. But but I love those Budgie records. And the Rush records, I mean, I've never heard a Rush album that I hated, honestly. I mean, I don't know. It's been a long time since I've heard Presto. Maybe I should reserve that. Out of like the early ones, I don't hate any of those records. I mean, they're totally overrated. That's kind of a given, but like, I just don't find them all that interesting. You know what I mean?
Once they got to Power Windows, where it started like being dominated by 80s synthy stuff, oddly enough, I do like synth music, but it kind of took what was special about Rush away. I don't know. I had a friend that was big into Power Windows, and that album just was weak sauce to me. That song.
Yeah, see, I'm actually wondering if I'm thinking Power Windows might be the next one I check out to see if I like that direction. Because what's the closing song on Moving Pictures that has that kind of sound? It's the very last track. I can't think of the name of it. Help us out here, chat. Closing track, Moving Pictures.
I think Jeff will tell you in a minute.
Vital Signs. Thank you, Scott. Yeah. See, I really like that track on Moving Pictures. I think that one's kind of cool and interesting. It's obviously different than the rest of the album. So I'm in the back of my brain, there's that sick little Rush monkey who's saying, like, give him one more chance, but this time try the electronic album because you like Vital Signs. So it's probably going to happen. 4 months from now, we'll do What's Spinning, and we'll have this whole conversation again with me showing Power Windows or something like that.
Power Windows is not the album you want to start with, though. Like,
no, God, no.
Yeah.
No.
Which one do I need to look for just to make sure I don't fuck it up?
I like Grace Under Pressure. That has some synth stuff on it, but
okay.
I don't know.
Probably just as early in the 80s as I can find. Is that the rule of thumb?
I gave up after Grace, so I don't know.
We'll see. It will be whatever the bookstore has for $4.99 on a CD. That's where we'll go. Okay, let's rush on to Marty's next pick here.
Sorry,
people are saying Signals. Try Signals. Grace Under Pressure. Many people are saying that was a good one.
Okay,
Dark in many ways.
Signals or Grace. Some people, Jeff says Power Windows rules and that we're all a bunch of plebes.
I didn't like the lead off single for that, Big Money. I did not like it. Didn't like that song. Didn't like I don't know. Anyway, Rush. Okay, let's talk about something about as far away from Rush as you can possibly get, and that would be England's
Machine Gun Kelly.
Subhumans. This is one I've been cruising around town listening to as well. This is the EPLP. I have all the Subhuman stuff, but this is my favorite material by them. It's got the Demolition War EP, Reason for Existence EP, the Religious Wars EP, and the Evolution EP. This is great, man. Great anarcho punk. Oh, Broken Case. I wish I had Rubbermaid to put this in.
I have cases, Marty.
Yeah, this is just really well done, angry but catchy, stripped down punk. Dick's voice is very very British. His accent really cuts through, but he's got a very distinctive yelling style. I don't know. I always really like this band. They do have moments where they tip into the reggae thing a bit, which makes sense because later on they started a side band called Citizen Fish, which embrace that reggae stuff. I never really followed them into that direction, but they do it well on here. I mean, I don't know what the English ties were sonically with Jamaica, but there's a lot of bands like the Clash. I mean, a lot of these old punk bands really were kind of smitten with the whole reggae sound. But
Men at Work.
Men at Work are Australian.
Yeah, but they were doing that reggae thing just like the other guys.
Right.
I didn't realize that until I was that old. I was like, holy shit, they were doing this shit as much as the Police were, only their songs are better.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, this is a lot of fun, really good punk, pissed off, aggravated, catchy as hell, sing along with it, punk. Love it.
Yeah.
Always fun. The kid even kind of liked it too. I said, "You like this?" He's like, "Well, I don't hate it." I'm like, "Oh, good. Well, that's foot in the door."
There were some pretty close ties between the UK and Jamaica then, just sort of a leftover from the colonial days. So there's a lot of sort of cross-pollination. A lot of the reggae guys ended up in England and that sort of thing. A lot of the punk rockers there kind of got into it through that. Like Trojan was based out of England, even though it was almost all Jamaican artists. And Chris Blackwell was signing shit to Island. Like, I mean, Bob Marley's a big one, obviously, but there were a bunch. Max Romeo, Toots and the Maytals, shit like that. So,
well, I know John Lydon, after Sex Pistols broke up, he spent a lot of time down there smoking weed and involving himself in the reggae culture down there. And
this is how you ended up with UB40. You know, like
I hate UB40.
Yeah,
I actually can't stand any punk band that does that reggae shit. I actually really kind of despise it. But but that's where it comes from. You know, it's not like dishonest. It's not just like rank cultural appropriation. It's like there are people like sort of meeting each other and getting into each other's music, and you know, from that standpoint, it was sincere. So.
Yeah, it does seem like a weird combination if you don't know the history behind it. It is a head scratcher at first glance.
Jay, it's funny you mentioned Pill. I actually spun second edition the other day. It was still in the garage. I should have grabbed it, but I love the weird avant-garde, simplistic but artistic Pill stuff. And John's got a really great voice. The guy's, you know, wackadoodle, but he's got a great singing voice. I always enjoyed that early Pill stuff. Repetitive but experimental avant-garde. It was a cool direction for him to go.
I've been meaning to pick that up. It's another one I'm just kind of waiting for. It's going to show up at the used bookstore sooner or later, and when it does, I'll buy it.
I think that PIL shit is like the Stranglers, only boring.
Yeah, and I could see that because it is repetitive. I mean, I wouldn't. If anybody doesn't like it, I get it. It's simplistic, it's repetitive, but it is avant-garde, and if you don't have the patience, I can see how it. I don't know. I always liked it for Jah Wobble. His rock solid, simplistic bass lines are definitely a backbone to the Pill stuff. Anyway,
Aaron, I believe.
I've been in a weird musical mood. Obviously, doing a lot of heavy metallurgy homework. I still love metal, of course, but it's been a nice digging into some post-punk and some weird. It's been a nice reset. It's been a lot of fun. Anyway.
All right, well, cool. So we were talking about Brazilian bands. Let's talk about Viper for a minute.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, this record. This is a reissue. It's relatively inexpensive too. I know.
Is that the same Viper with the guy with wings on the cover? Okay, cool. That's a good album.
Yeah, Soldiers of Sunrise. A little bit of a cheesy title, but this is a really good record, man. It's funny because it's really kind of atypical for a Brazilian band because this is really like epic metal in intent, you know, and it isn't quite as like fully developed and over the top as like Manowar or something like that. But as far as like that sort of galloping sort of sound to it and just sort of the grandiosity of the of what they're shooting for in this, Again, it's not they're not going to supplant Heavy Load, but in a way they almost square that circle better because it's a little bit more straight ahead. You know what I mean? It's a little more like just like a metal record you put on and enjoy it without having to like be drawn into some like opera or something like that. You know what I mean? So it's a really solid record. I'm going to dedicate this pick to our friend at the Merciful Metal channel because this is Thomas's like one of his very favorite records, if not his all-time favorite. So.
I didn't know that
about it recently, and I was like, I got to pull that out, man. I haven't listened to that in a while. So, yeah,
it kind of looks like one of the dudes from Ample Destruction got left behind, so he just ended up. What it looks like,
it's the fifth rider of the Apocalypse, Charles. His alarm didn't go off that morning.
Yeah.
He's the bringer of brunch because all the plague and death and war kind of wears you out by about 10:30.
If only they give this guy Allan's address, he could be reunited with 27 different variants of that album, and he'd be reunited with the guys.
One thing this record has that Jag Panther doesn't have is a song called "The Whipper." But generally speaking, their English is pretty good on this thing compared to some of their cohorts.
Is that a Judas Priest cover just mispronounced?
Thankfully, no.
Yeah, and Jay, you're right. Yeah, Dennis was promoted, especially Theater of Fate, really strongly when he first got a hold of that one. Back in the day.
I don't have that second one. I just have the first one.
The second one's much more kind of goes a little bit more for the more operatic symphonic style. It's not straightforward metal like that one is. They really start playing up more you can tell that Matos wanted to go in the symphonic direction, and that's why they ended up splitting after that second album. He went on to do Angra, where he got to do all the big Avantasia-ish stuff that he wanted to, and Viper just went back to playing very straightforward, no frills heavy metal.
Okay.
Yeah, they definitely, and actually both, I mean, it worked out well because, the Angra stuff is pretty cool. And the third Viper album is very good as just a no nonsense heavy metal record too. It's got a weird cover with skeletons riding bicycles on it, but it's a good album. I actually got I think I got the second and third albums from Dennis. Now that Jay brought up his name. Yeah, Dennis was the guy who, still runs Sentinel Steel.
Okay.
All right, Rick.
Yeah, Evolution. That's the third one, Jay. Thanks.
All right. This is kind of a weird one. So I got this maybe like 2 years ago, something like that. It's been sitting in the bin. Like, I'll get around to it eventually. I looked at the cover. It kind of reminded me of Green Carnation. If you guys know that band, it's called End of Green. Album's called Infinity. And when you look at it, you can kind of get that vibe. I'm a moody guy. I like my stuff a little sad boy sometimes, and this is kind of doom metal with some gothic elements. Really early release. Nuclear Blast put this out.
Huh.
I think they did a kind of
Never heard of it.
That's
Amazing.
what I mean. They must have done a shitty job promoting this thing because I never heard of it.
Yeah.
The blind buy. I'm expecting Green Carnation. I look at this, something kind of like that, kind of in that realm, and there were a couple, I guess what you call flags with this. That kind of before I even spun it. One is, all right, I don't know if it's a thing, but if you're allowed to kind of just make your own subgenre, kind of what Mesa does with calling their stuff Scarlet Doom. Like, all right, okay, I'll give you that. Depressed subcore. I'm like, what the hell is that?
It's emo core.
But the thing is, this came out in 1996. So like I guess the core thing was not quite developed quite yet, like like it is now. So if I were to describe this, it's kind of like take Helmet, which is kind of like alternative metal, right?
Simplistic. Hammering type stuff. Yeah.
Not very intricate.
Yeah.
Add some typo to that. Paige Hamilton and Pete Steele decided to just make a baby, and you kind of get this. Very interesting. I wonder what Nuclear Blast was thinking at the time when they decided to try their hand at this band. So I got curious. So it's not bad if you're already into this style. If you like some of the more gothic leanings of Sentence, kind of in that direction, you get kind of get semblances of this. This band's from Germany, by the way. So they're European. So they got their own quirkiness and stuff going on there too. With what's going on here, the two bands I mentioned are American bands. So they were clearly listening to those bands when they were putting this kind of material together. There's no way this was an accident. Here's another flag. The guy behind this, his name is Michelle Darkness. I'm waiting for Aaron to smirk on this one. It was like, All right.
I'm trying to be a dick about it,
But I'm like, all right, how consistent is this catalog? So I went and just kind of snooped around and checked out some of this other material. He's got quite a few albums out, but none of them sound quite like this one. It's kind of quite at the most gothic and more. I would almost say it has a little bit of the Peaceville vibes, going on of those bands, just tinges of it, like of Paradise Lost and those bands and My Dying Bride. And it has those kind of vibes going on to it, but it's just this Infinity album from '96. Once you move past this, it starts to sound more new metal-ish. Right there you go. I'm like, okay, so this tells me that they were trying to get more of that commercial. They were moving more on that commercial side. Okay, I don't know how well it worked out for them. I've never heard of them before I picked this up. So maybe in the German market, they're doing quite well. Maybe they're thriving. I don't know.
I've never heard of it. I doubt it. Not that it means anything, but
that tells me a lot. The fact that you haven't heard of it, that's very telling. Again, with Blind By is in there. And so it gets better. So, and I think it was 2020. So this is called Infinity. He dropped something called Twi Infinity, and it's a re-recording of this album. So, okay, which I thought was kind of a worse move. I checked that out, and I do enjoy this. It does have a lot of those cool little moody moments, a lot of the gothic tinges. It does remind me a little bit of the peaceful stuff, but with helmets, right? Again, it's very weird to say, but it does give me those vibes. I do like Typo. I know that's not a band a lot of people can get to if you're not into the gothic stuff. But what works for this album is that it has a charm of the 90s, and with the production, everything that's going to going forward. This is why, out of everything I checked out, this is the only one I can really latch onto. Past this, I can't get. It's too mauled for me. Once you move past this album, and the fact that he re-recorded it, it completely lost everything that was great about this album. The production was too clean. It was just way too. What do you call it? It's just all the nuances were gone. That made this special. So I don't know what imperfections that was bothering him over the years that kind of just pushed him to. And I feel like a lot of bands go through this, right? Like kind of Sepultura, there's a lot of bands that do these re-recordings, because over time, a lot of this stuff tends to really bother them. But we don't know as fans to an extent how much of these earlier albums have bugged them to make them make this move to re-record this stuff. And it's kind of what he did. It's like, this was the better product. Just keep it the way it is, kind of what it felt to me. So if anybody's heard of this, I would love to know, but this is definitely not something that, again, Nuclear Blast did a shitty job, making this aware, at least outside of Germany that I'm aware of. But if you like the more gothic leanings, if you like stuff a little more on the simplistic side, but a little bit of the peaceful leanings, and the Green Infinity, Green Carnation, not so much. There. I mean, you can make a lazy comparison to some of it there, but it's kind of what I was expecting, but it wasn't Green Carnation. But End of Green Infinity, yeah. So I don't know what was in that German Kool-Aid water 96, when this came out, but this was a product and sitting on a used bin shelf. So I don't regret the $2 I spent on this.
But you say you didn't like the follow-up. It bears a question, Rick. Do you even depress subcore, bro?
I try to. I have my days. Usually in the weekends, when I got my Converse on, I'm ready to,
Yeah.
But other than that,
you need to work on that Raven Wing hairdo.
Is that like someone's skin on the cover or something, like under a microscope?
See, I hate when they do this. This was a thing at the time. It's like they would do this really abstract stuff, but it was just very lazily done. They must have hit like the inverse, tool and just threw a little blue filter over it. I think it's supposed to be a forest.
Okay.
Of some sort. Yeah, that's all I can get out of it. But it's a cool little quirky listen, for what it is. It's a strange combination of different styles, of what they were going through. But there's nothing really original about it. it's only unique because of how all the stuff that's already familiar, it's kind of just conjoined into this one product here. It's very different from the rest of the catalog. At the time, I think there was the really early influences are all kind of here, but after that, it kind of just, you can clearly tell Michelle Darkness was moving towards more of a commercial end of things. So interesting period of time. Maybe they were latching on the Sentence train, you know what I mean? And there's just a band-aid like, can you do what Sentence is doing? But not as good.
I mean, all labels have their bands they put out that no one gloms onto. I mean, if you watch like the Death is Just the Beginning videotape, Nuclear Blast messed around with the Rostock Vampires. Whoever heard of that band until that videotape came out? I mean, it was on Nuclear Blast apparently. And they're kind of a punky band, but
plural.
Yeah. Yep.
Vampires was the thing, Cradle of Filth were all doing their thing. Moonspell was already on, in full form. It's that people were into it.
The Crow have pushed that
The Crow
stuff along quite a bit. Yep.
Very well. That's what it was. I think you nailed it.
All right, good blast from the past that no one's heard of. Again, everybody. If you are if you're not subscribed to the Dreadful Minutes, please go over and subscribe to the Dreadful Minutes. Rick is pulling this stuff all the time over there. Allan.
All right. All right. I'm interested to get people's opinion about this thing because I'd heard about it for a few years, and I finally went ahead and pulled the trigger and picked up a copy of it. And you read different things about it in terms of how it was put together and such. It is the And Justice for Jason bootleg. So the deal here is that it's it's obviously And Justice for All, but with the bass levels put back in the way you would expect them to be on a normal record. Yeah, and it definitely has more of a bass presence on it. Same songs. There's a couple of bonus track interviews. There's like a short conversation with Jason about his time leading up to And Justice, and the other one they talk to one of the engineers on And Justice, and he tells a funny story about Lars coming up to him years later and saying like, oh, so what happened with those bass levels in the album? And he's like, you little prick, you told me to keep turning them down. That's what fucking happened, and you damn well know it.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of poking around looking for info on how this thing was done, I've seen a couple of different stories about it. One of them said that basically people were able to sort of hack the Metallica Guitar Hero version, that there was like an equalizer in that, and so that they sort of used that as a way to like keep pulling up the bass levels and then export it and turn it into a bootleg. Other stories I've heard have said that it's basically just like a fan that sort of mimics the bass lines and added that into a mix of it. And there may be more than one version that floats around too. I'm not sure. This one even does have like a version 4.0.5 on the back cover. So maybe it's been done a couple of different ways. I have definitely seen it with other cover images. There's usually some version of this, but I've seen one that's more colorized, one that's like at a different angle or something. So yeah, it is kind of cool to hear the album with a more reasonable bass level. Because the production on that album always did irk me. I always thought it just sounded like shit
out of the production. It's like they sucked the whole middle out of it. It's really weird.
Yeah. And it's one of those cases where, like, Aaron was talking about earlier, sometimes you hear an album, you play it at the wrong speed and it throws you off. See, when I first got this, I bought it as a bootleg cassette tape at a flea market. So when I was playing it, I just assumed it was a really shitty bootleg cassette. But then when, comparing it to like copies that friends had, I'm just like, where'd you get your copy? Camelot. Like, your copy sounds a lot like my copy I got at the flea market. Oh, I guess it's supposed to sound that way. But yeah, have any of y'all picked this up, or anyone in the chat know any more of the details behind how this And Justice for Jason bootleg came
Is that a pro
be?
CD or a CDR?
I'm pretty sure it's a CDR. Let's double check though.
It's green. If it's green, it's a CDR.
Yeah, it's got kind of a greenish tinge to it.
CDR.
All right.
Yep. So
A pro CDR, but I mean, aren't all CDs CDRs? It's just the green tint ones don't play in some players.
yeah, this one I've only played it in my main CD player so far, but it played okay there, and it also I burned it to MP3 so I could put it on my iPod, and that worked okay too. So it's interesting. It's kind of cool. I don't regret picking it up, but yeah, I'm still just curious for more info about it. If anybody,
There's something about a band, because I know there's versions on YouTube where like people have to put out fixed versions of an album.
Right.
That's a popular one. The Saint Anger one with the fixed drums, are like that's another hot one. And, when you find yourself putting those on a playlist, then the real album or the original mix,
The last time we were driving up to Connecticut from here, I was listening to a bunch of Metallica. I was like, so I kind of want to have some ready to go in the car. So I went on YouTube to do it. And I don't really like, I don't have a whole lot of use for that record. I've tried so hard to like it when it came out, but I never got there. But the first three, they're like fixed versions too, with Cliff Burton's parts. And those are the ones I put into the thing. So I could like listen to it with it's like, I know how it sounds on records, so let me listen to this while I'm in the car driving around, and it'll be a little bit different and maybe keep me interested. You know what I mean? So I'm aware of the phenomenon of those things. I didn't know that anyone had made CDs of any of them. That's the first time I've seen one. And that cover made me laugh.
Yep.
My question is, it seems like someone did an interview around the whole anniversary of the Injustice for All. They talked to Fleming. Isn't Fleming Rasmussen the guy that produced that? Is that
so.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking to him about that and about remixing it by putting the bass back in down the road for like an anniversary edition, and he basically said that it's impossible because the bass lines are just gone. So did someone basically play bass put their bass on it and to get that? Because I mean, how can you mix in a bass performance if it's not fucking there?
Fair question. So yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at who they talked to here. The interview thing isn't with Rasmussen, of course. It's with Steve Thompson, who was one of the sound. I don't know if his title was engineer or what on their album. He did mention that they did have normal bass levels recorded for it at one point, because he says one of my big regrets is that before Lars kept saying turn it down. He's like, I really should have made a copy. I should have just kept being like, okay, let's just put a copy over here for now. Now let's work off of this, and I'll dial the bass down as far as you want it to. But it's like, I really should have saved it the way we had it, because it sounded really good. And I knew I knew it was going to fuck it up doing what he wanted me to, but it's their fucking album. I'm gonna make it sound the way that he wants it. So I guess they did have it, but at the same time, there may not be a quote unquote real version of it that has the correct bass levels out there.
You know what else is out there on YouTube that I'm kind of a fan of is someone took Master of Puppets and replaced all the snare drum hits with the snare drum sound off Saint Anger. And I kind of love that. I actually kind of think the snare drum is the best thing about Saint Anger, obviously.
I think about Injustice for All, and the album is the way it is, and it still sounds fantastic. It sounds like a major label album.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really, it's so odd and unique the way they did it. It kind of makes that record a bit special. When I remember getting that when I was a kid. I mean, when that album came out, I was over the moon for Metallica, like we all were. I just was. And even though I was like, I don't know if I like this as much as Master of Puppets, I still spun it endlessly until I knew that thing inside and out. So, I mean, it's their last album that I really, really love, but it's problematic. It's, they try to get more proggy. They try to get more complex. And then there's this weird, like I said, it feels like you listen to it. It sounds like the air is sucked out of the room of that mix. Mm-hmm. It's really weird, but it's so ingrained. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is now. I couldn't imagine that album sounding any differently,
Well, you don't have to imagine it because you can hear it.
I've never listened to it. I have no idea.
Yeah. Yep. It was one of those things I'd heard about for a few years. I was interested. I was poking around on eBay one night. Somebody had a copy of it listed. I'm like, hey, sure. I'm curious enough. And if it turns out to be something stupid, well, okay, fine. You got my money.
I wonder if Jason's ever commented any of that stuff. There's enough of them out there, right?
He has. There's been interviews of them basically asking him in point blank about all that shit. And he plays the Democratic, hey man, we took over the world, we changed things, the music is, he played the Jason's a good dude.
He's classy that way. Yeah.
The way shit went down when he got thrown out of the band, or quit the band, or however that whole shit went around, he didn't come out of it bitter, because I've seen also in the same interviews him talking about he can never have to make music again, because the Black Album, it's still charting. That album is still in the charts, where they sell like 5,000 records a week.
Royalty checks alone, man, like that.
The royalty checks, he said his mom helped him set up finances for that. He is set for fucking life off the Black Album. He just is. He could, go pull his pud wherever he wants to go, and it doesn't fucking matter. He's set for life. And so yeah, he's never, even to, he went back for the 30-year reunion and played with those guys. He's still saying great things about Metallica. Of course, he knows where his bread is buttered. Because no one gives a shit about his acoustic crap. No one gives a shit. Or his Newstead metal band that wasn't very good. No one gives a shit about that, So cheers to him for trying. But
when was the last time you spun that Voivod album?
I listened to it a lot when it came out, but it doesn't have that does not have the staying power. It's decent, but it's not great.
Dude, I'll be back in a minute, guys. But yeah, Marty, you can take it away when you're ready.
How's that for joining a band at the wrong time?
He had
when
those
he joined
guys were
Volvo.
grieving. The grass hadn't even grown on Cliff Burton's grave, and they were back touring. They needed a guy.
When he joined Metallica, but also when he joined Voivod.
Yeah.
It's not like he joined for Dimension Hatred.
He was like the Black Crow on a tombstone, man.
He was only like 10 minutes, then Piggy died or something.
Yeah. He did kind of get them going again, though. He
did. The Jason Newsted bump, definitely. And his money, I guess he funneled a bunch of money into Voivod too, to get them back. He got them on the big festivals because of Jason Newsted. His popularity and his status in metal and his bank account, he did fund a lot of that shit, and more power to him, man. This dude came from Flotsam and Jetsam. Doomsday for the Deceiver rules. That's a great record. I haven't listened to it in 1,000 years, but it's a great record. And that guy, he's got underground metal heart, I don't know. Cheers to that guy. I dig that dude, but I don't know. He got dealt a dirty hand with Injustice for All, but he was such a fan, he just took it, and he knew he had leveled up. He was going to make money in this band that was on the rise, and he saved Metallica. He got them going down the road. He was a force to be reckoned with live. Absolutely crushing live, that dude. He's just great. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to what have I got here? I don't know.
Halloween.
Nope. I'm saving that. Trust me, people. The Halloween, the deluge of Halloween is coming this year, and you all know it. I'm trying to be nice because you're going to get sick of hearing the name again here come September.
You're rationing the earfuls.
Yep. I'm rationing. I'm still listening to Halloween. Make no mistake. But yeah.
Me and Blue Oyster Cult.
Exactly. Merciful Fate, Return of the Vampire, the rare and unreleased. I bought this record from Melanie, loves death metal. And you know what? This is a Metal Blade reissue of this, and it doesn't sound very good. It just doesn't sound very good. I don't know how or why. Granted, and it's kind of a pixelated album cover reproduction. You know how it goes, Rick. Sometimes they just don't get it right. They take a small image and blow it up and good enough.
That's not a very good cover anyway.
It's not a great cover. I had the CD when it came out, but it's got some demo material. I think some Brat stuff on here. I don't know, but
which is funny. We were just talking about vampires, and you can pull that.
Pull it, yeah. I bought it from her when she lost her job, and I'm like, oh, I should have that on vinyl because I'm a sick collector scum, and it was fun to listen to. It's cool to have it on record, but it don't sound great. It doesn't sound great, but it's still cool. You got Mission Destroy Aliens. Very cool. Death Kiss, Leave My Soul Alone. Come on. a night of the full moon. So yeah, you got some rare demo shit on here, and it's fun. It's fun. I think you can basically get the same shit on the Curse of the Pharaohs fan club release, which isn't sanctioned by the band, but I have that on cassette. I've sold the story on here before. This is the greatness of Camelot music. Okay. I stroll into Camelot one day, have some money to burn, and sitting on the tape shelf in Camelot music in a chain store was the fan club editions of Curse of the Pharaohs and the Live from the Depths of Hell. How in the fuck does Camelot get these? They're bootlegs. Okay. Right. They're essentially, how are those in a chain store? Not even on any label. It's just like, I'm like, what the hell is this? I had to scrimp and scrape. I think I borrowed a couple bucks from a friend to get those two things. But yeah, I got that at Camelot Music. Again, best chain music store ever. I don't care what anybody says. But yeah, there's a lot of that stuff that was on the Curse of the Pharaohs LP that the fan club put out that is on this as well. So, but still, it's cool to have. It's Merciful Fate. You got to have the records leading up. I don't know. Was this, Aaron, do you know, was this released originally? It came out on CD. I bought the CD. Did it come out on vinyl? Was there an original pressing of this vinyl as well, or was it a CD only?
I think there was.
It came out in Europe on record, but not in the US. I could be wrong, though. Is that what you were thinking, Allan?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's an original vinyl version. It's the only old Merciful Fate thing I don't have an original vinyl press.
Hold on 2 seconds. I want to grab those two tapes and show people. I'll be back.
So you getting the Satan's Host tapes, or what is it called? Satan. That's Satan's Nightmare tapes.
Apparently, Camelot sold bootlegs at some point.
Yeah, it is weird. He got those out of Camelot. I don't know how Camelot ended up with some weird stuff from time to time, but this one definitely takes the cake.
Right here, both of these I bought from Camelot Music. They're the
wow.
Oh yeah.
They're legit. It's like, well, I mean, they're still not sanctioned by the band, but they're, you know, the
band wasn't trying too hard to like get those taken off the market either, you know.
They weren't. I just can't believe a chain. If a Camelot Music in Traverse City, Michigan, 5 hours northwest of Detroit, got these in, how many more Camelot Musics got them in? You know. So I don't know. It's weird. And how do you even, did someone special order them and not buy them? I mean, where would you special order them from? I don't know. They're not going to be in the normal distribution channels. I don't know. It's fucking weird. It's always been a mystery to me. But yep, Camelot Music back in the day. I shit my pants when I saw those. I'm like, what the fuck are these things?
I was living overseas during the heyday of Camelot, but I remember when we came back to the U.S. to visit, I went to a Camelot in a mall. And I found a copy of TNT by AC/DC, which I had heard of at that point, but had never seen before. And I was like,
I'll be right back.
And I got the record, but they had it on tape too. I was like, what? Why do they just have this one? I don't know, probably because that's the one with the different titles. So it's better known, even though High Voltage is the one to get with all the different songs on it.
Yep. Yeah, Jay, the bargain bins would have crazy stuff. I got Sarcophagus Rotting out of the Camelot bargain bin. The Indestroy, I think that was an EP, or maybe it was a mini LP going back to that. But yeah, you can find the weirdest stuff there sometimes.
I think everything changed when like eBay happens, and like now everybody thinks everything's worth some stupid amount of money. You know, back in the day, you had nothing to compare it to, so
right.
You have Discogs or nothing like that. Man, days.
Yeah, it's gotten really bad, you know, during the Discogs era for what you're describing there, Rick. Because yeah, everybody just looks at the Discogs and they always look at what the highest price it's ever sold for is. They don't look at the condition whatsoever. It's like, oh yeah, this one time somebody paid $1,000 for this. I'm like, yeah, and the average price is, $75. Why do you think yours is worth $1,000 too? Yeah, makes it hard to buy stuff these days.
It's almost like you're not mad at the seller, like you're mad at the buyer. Like what are you doing?
And
look at enabling this.
There have been some weird cases over the years where certain buyers have very intentionally juiced auction prices online just to fuck with people and make them think like, that's some like big fucking record. I've got a couple of, old obscure records on the shelf back there where, they would show up, 15, 20 years ago on eBay and be like, one of the first times it showed up on eBay. And you'd see, there'd be 2 or 3 people getting in this like, bidding war over it and pushing it up, to like, $600 or something. And, you're just watching the auction and just thinking like, is that really a $600 single? And it hadn't been on eBay before. Discogs wasn't a thing back then. So there wasn't much of a frame of reference you had. So a lot of people just started thinking, oh yeah, I guess it's a $600 single. But, I would check around with, some different vendors and stuff and then be like, I've got a copy of it. You want it for $30? You can have it. It's never going to sell for 600. I know those guys, they're screwing around. Like, yeah, they probably paid for it. I don't think they, backed out on the auction or anything, but they're just screwing with people, making them think it's a big deal when it's not. I'm just like, that's annoying.
All right, Aaron.
Yep. This should probably be our last round. We are past the witching hour.
Okay.
Shit. But I got it. Well, I've got an obvious one right in the front here. All right, let's just do it. The Death and Destiny EP featuring Killer. I bought this at Amoeba Berkeley. And it's a great record, The band that should have been on the Lars comp but didn't quite make it. It's kind of a flimsy cover. I should probably put a thing in there, but here's the Street Beat label. If you want the exact same music on this, if you get the Guardian 7-inch, not the Street Beat one, but the Guardian one, you get all 4 songs on it. The Street Beat 7-inch version only had 3 of the songs for some reason.
Yeah. But the Guardian 7-inch doesn't have a picture sleeve. So if you want the cool picture sleeve, you got to get either, the 7-inch version with 3 songs or the more expensive 12-inch version that Aaron's showing off there.
Yeah. Great record, though, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's 4 songs, and they're all bangers.
Yep. One of the early success stories out of the new wave of British heavy metal is a small sort of indie press thing that sold a shit ton of copies when it came out.
How many did this sell? Do you have any idea? I don't.
I've seen a number somewhere. They had to repress it a couple of times, and I think they were pressing it like a few thousand at a time. So
wow,
it went through copies. Yeah, it did really good. And then there was no follow up, and the band just disintegrated. Couldn't capitalize on it.
Yeah, it's a shame because they really were a great band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There is some demo stuff on anthologies. It's and that band got the anthology treatment really early. Even like during the 90s, there was already a Death and Destiny compilation out there. And some of the tracks are okay. They definitely, a lot of them definitely feel a little more on the melodic side, but there's some good tracks on it. But nothing that measures up really quite to those first, to the 4 tracks from the EP.
Yeah, these guys are almost too good. I could totally see them going in a direction where they sort of, started trying too hard. You know what I mean? And they didn't quite do that on any of these tracks.
Mm-hmm.
They really
No,
perfectly.
Yeah, those are straightforward. Yeah,
where the performances are great too. Killer. Yeah, fucking Death and Destiny is probably the weakest song on here. That's a great song.
Yeah, it's a little more pacey than the other ones.
Yeah, like Overlord.
Yep.
So we've named all 4 now between us, right?
We've read the entire track list.
Is this the last round then?
Last round. So yep. If you got something else you want to show.
I was going to show this one too. Otherwise.
Oh, that's such a cool cover.
Hold it up again. Looks like a Butthole Surfers. Let me see it.
It's a dude getting tied up. Dude getting blasted.
It reminds you of that Butthole Surfers live album where it's got like that model that's like reaching at the crowd with they added a bunch of boobs on her, made her look like an alien. It looks like the same thing.
I didn't know you were talking about right away, but yeah, totally, man.
I don't remember the name of it, but yeah.
That's fucking funny. All right, anyway. It's a cool record. Pretty hard rocky. Mm-hmm. But I just listened to this earlier today and I still really enjoy this record, man. I don't know who Joe Step is, but
Yeah, it the guitarist in the band is all I know. So, yep, another wannabe guitar hero, and yeah, it was pretty good on it.
And supposedly there was a movie actually that this is supposed to be a soundtrack for or something, and these are stills from the movie. But that's
Yeah,
sort of one
I've
of those
never-
things that I heard that I'm not sure if I buy. You know,
Yeah, I've never heard the details, but yeah, I've always heard that they were stills from some kind of, quote unquote snuff movie kind of thing. That
I hadn't heard snuff.
well, I mean, it's obviously staged, but that
Right.
they were trying to make it look like that. So,
Speaking of,
Yeah.
I almost pulled out the Sorcery record, Stunt Rock, and that movie does exist.
Yep. But yeah, that's a cool album, and yeah, it doesn't show up very often. It was one that years ago, the first time it showed up at was at the Austin Record Show, I think, back in the day, and yeah, people went nuts, fighting over who was going to get to buy it.
All right, Rick, what you got?
All right.
Run through what you want to run through. It's last call.
Last pull, right?
Last call for alcohol.
Shout out to Logan, Metal Beer Snob. He's at the
Cheers, Logan.
He's at the Acid Bath, and I think I Hey God are playing
Oh, right
that
now
tonight.
Oh, nice.
So
he's
cool.
drunk with a boner in a very small, sweaty club right now.
I would love to see Acid Bath, to come around.
Mhm.
But the reason I mention it is because he's all about that sludge and doom. And just that whole stoner side of stuff. One of the ones I didn't show during that stream was album that came out actually last year. Another one nobody talked about. It's got the Adam Burke artwork. Which is that guy. It's like that Lewandowski guy. For a while, all his stuff was everywhere. It's like this Adam Burke guy. Is good, but it's got a very definitive style. And now I see I see his stuff everywhere. So this band's called Day Tripper.
Cool cover. Cool cover.
It is. It's really cool artwork. Kind of what drew me in. And had I known about this last year, it definitely would have been probably maybe my top 15. I don't know if quite top 10. But this is really cool, sludge doom with a lot of because when I say stoner, I already know people's minds are going to gravitate towards the Sabbath, and just that kind of just a certain leanings. And you wouldn't be completely wrong, but I would say this has elements. I would start with a base of something like Electric Wizard, because it has some of that fuzzy in there, and you do get a little bit of the psych kind of moments in there. But what's amazing is this is their debut album. They're out of Phoenix, and for a debut album, for something in this particular style, it is very, very strong. That's why I said I would have put this that high on the list. It's done that well. Back of the Bogs, Sludge Lurker. They do have their instrumental moments. It doesn't really get you bored. They teeter totter between some of the more psychedelic, just kind of just very opaque kind of vocals, but then it moves into this sort of blackened sludge kind of territory. So they get quite dark with this. So again, that's where you move away from the Sabbath kind of stuff, and you get into more of the really dark kind of I Hate God territory. So there's a bit of a mixed bag with everything. The reason I said that was because this thing is over an hour long, so you have to set a bit of a precedent. Hey, it's a long album, but there's a lot of interesting things going on here that, if you're already into this kind of style, like I said, if you like some of the early Electric Wizard albums and, you're already into a lot of the, Aaron, I think you would dig this.
It looks fantastic. And I'm glad you showed it because honestly, with them being named Day Tripper, I would have skipped right past it. Naming yourself after a Beatles song, that's worse than naming yourself Bashful as far as arousing.
Call yourself Eleanor Rigby.
I don't know. That was my thought exactly. So that's all the name. It's
But it's a great looking cover, man. And if you say it's good, now I'm curious because
Let's see
love this kind of shit.
Let's see the back cover.
Yeah.
Is that like a nod of appreciation of Crystal Logic? The circular this is what it looks like.
I didn't even think of that.
I wonder. Although it's drawn way better. Of course.
Put out by Wet Wet Records. I don't know if anybody knows that label at all or anything. So I don't know. I guess while I'm here, I'll probably this thing, man, like death metal out of Australia. Simon, if you're watching, I'm sure he knows this band. Pestilence. It's beliefs of dead stargazers and soothsayers. Man, if you're one of those people who's kind of behind because you're listening to a lot of old school death metal and you're trying to figure out where do I go in with the modern bands, you can't go wrong with this. Like, this is another band that completely gets it. It's like the Guts. Like, they really love this stuff and they do it really, really well.
Atypical death metal cover too, which is kind of cool. Yeah,
it has a kind of a almost doomy blackened look to it or something. Like, it does not scream. I don't know. Like, maybe it's something Belfort Gore would do. If I were band that would do something kind of like this. Here, these guys. It's actually, I think I have a better photo. Like, here we go. It's like, if you could make a face for every day of the week, these guys would be like Tuesday.
That mustache is Saturday. I'll tell you right there. Yeah. That mustache is ready to party.
It's
Hop in the IROC and let's go get some beers.
Rod and Life put this out. Like, really cool label, and always putting out some really good stuff.
What's going on, Jeff? How you doing, man? Mendicant Media. Go check out Mendicant Media, everybody. Good channel.
Australia. I've just been hanging out in the chat some tonight.
I don't know.
You say Australia 3 times, and those bastards show up.
It never fails, man.
Cheers, man.
I think they're from Queensland, actually. If I'm not wrong, but yeah, I'm not always a big fan of like photo like stuff on the covers, but here, like, it seems to work for death metal anyway. Like, but here, I think it's a painting, but it looks pretty photo like. Just really good production, very catchy. They're not afraid to go into the more intricacies. They have their meat and potato moments, but it just keep you engaged the whole time. Really good, well done modern death metal. And I think I'll end it on one last thing. Just because I did that thing last week. And
your playlist is chock full of that. It is.
Oh yeah. Like, it's just an artist I really like. And everybody wants to worship Caius, but Brant Bjork, man, he's got a million other side projects.
Well, wasn't he in Caius?
Yeah, well, he's the drummer.
Oh yeah.
There he is right there. Like, it's like this guy lives the Cheech and Chong lifestyle. Like, he doesn't
bring it full circle.
Like, it's just really good at it. It's just. The thing is, like, this guy just reeks of just cool, man. Like, you get it. I mean, Heavy Psych put this out, like you would expect. So he's got the Brant Bjork project. This is the Brant Bjork and the Bros. He's got the Power Flower thing. He's Vista Chino, and he's got
Power Flower.
Yeah, he's like, it's not metal. It's not hard rock. With a bit of that. It's got the Caiusisms in there. But it's obviously you don't have the core members, so it's not going to sound quite like Caius. But man, he's got a cool attitude. The whole thing just has a really chill vibe. It's something that'll if you feel a lot of anxiety, if you're one of those people, you're on some anxiety medication or whatever you got going on, put on some Brant Bjork, man. Like, this is actual therapy. This is some sonic therapy. Like, this stuff right here. It's got the rips, very catchy. This is the comeback album. I think the last one was like 2007. He came back with this in, I don't know, 2023, something like that. Yeah, 2023 was back with this particular band. But this is all the holdover stuff. Because we don't have any more Caius. But cool shit. I mean, like, if you want like an instrumental version of that kind of stuff, he's got his own solo, just Brant Bjork, like Jacuzzi, very chill vibes, but what you're getting. He does do guitar, he's known as a drummer, but he does the vocals and guitar too. So, this is the guy you want. If you had a choice between someone like Dave Grohl and Brant Bjork, Brant Bjork every time, man. Like, this is the one I would go with. It. He's the cooler uncle.
I'm not mad at Dave Grohl either, but Brant Bjork still beats him at his own game.
Oh, to me by a mile, man. Just oozes cool. So those are my picks.
All right, Allan.
All right, I've got two. I'll show the first one pretty quick and move on to the last one, which I've promised I will dedicate to Tony, who's still hanging out in the chat. Always fun to have Tony aboard. But before I get to that one, I revisited Behemoth's fifth album, Thelema 6. This is the one in particular where you feel like they're in full-blown death metal mode finally. A couple of albums before this, they kind of go through that transition. What are they? Pandemonic Incantations and Satanica, where they're definitely focusing more on the death metal sound, but there was still a lot of black metal hanging around in the background. This one, it feels like, the transition's pretty much complete by this point. Kind of like this one a little bit more than Satanica. Satanica's, I think, the more popular one. It may be one of those albums that a lot of people kind of first noticed the band for.
The cover's really goofy on it though. It's got like this unicorn looking thing.
Yeah, it is a strange cover. It's also just kind of like a very, I don't know, somehow the band sounds very a little bit tight or dense or something. On this one, it just feels like, they're a little more relaxed. You still have like, the really fast, drum patterns with Inferno and everything. But it feels like, the song structures have loosened up a little bit. And as such, they, flow and move along a little bit better. Whereas Satanica, it just feels like everything's still a little uptight. Like they're still maybe not quite used to that particular style yet. So, it's not going to, make my, 10 best albums of all time list. But yeah, I thought this was, still, a step up, in their catalog. Behemoth's one of those bands that I seem to end up checking out most of their albums. Not a top shelf band for me, but I don't mind their stuff. I tend to like a lot of the, the earlier black metal stuff a little bit more than the death metal stuff, but the death metal stuff doesn't bother me either. And so then we'll wrap up on something interesting I found. Walked into the local record store a couple of months ago, and they've, got obviously, some, little shelves where they can display some of the nicer items that have come in recently, and they change them out pretty frequently. So, which is nice. It's not like the same bloody records hanging on the wall for 5 years, like a lot of record stores. Walk in and see this, cover art. I'm just like, huh. That's really cool. And Aaron knows where this is going.
That's a great record, though.
I'm just like, this is, really awesome. Cool dragon artwork and everything. And then my eyes, split second later, kind of trail down to the bottom of the album. There was a Randy vinyl LP hanging on the wall at
you
the
could
local
hear your boner coming
no,
through
it almost knocked it off the wall from across the store. I had to kind of rush over there and grab it.
You could hear the gush of blood flowing from other parts of your body.
I'm just standing there looking. I'm just like, sweet baby Jesus, that can't be real. It can't be here. This makes no sense. I've walked through one of those dimensional portals, and now I'm in a universe where Randy is like the biggest thing. Nobody's ever heard of Lars Ulrich, but Randy's currently on tour and have conquered the world. But yeah,
on tour with Metallica right now.
There you go. Bottom line here, there's been, a couple of anthologies of Randy's stuff put out because besides the single, they did demo some material. And this is, one of the anthology collections. They, the first time an anthology came out, it was one of the early releases on No Remorse. Now, No Remorse has a really good reputation these days and puts out a lot of cool stuff. A couple of their early releases really sucked. And the Randy anthology they put out was garbage. I mean, we're talking like dot matrix level reproduction of the cover art, shitty sound quality, no liner notes, nothing. And it sucked even more because there were some other labels that were talking to the band around the same time, trying to work with them to put it out. And they chose No Remorse, and No Remorse totally shit the bed. Now, No Remorse later, took another crack at it, revamped it, and did a much nicer job. So I mean, they learned from their mistake. They got it right later. But there have been other anthologies too. This one's got different cover art, And it's a little annoying because depending on what material you want to hear, you have to get different anthologies. There's not one that has all the tracks on it, to my knowledge. Maybe there's like a 2 CD pressing that gets close. But anyway, so yeah, this one features, it has the single, of course. It has some of the tracks from the 87 demo and tracks from a 1992 demo. The demo stuff gets a little bit more mainstream and lightweight, but it's still really fantastically done music. It's just straying a little bit towards the hard rock side of things, moving a little bit away from the Euro metal side of things. But still, to walk into your local record store and immediately be confronted with Randy vinyl, just like,
how much is it? I don't care. Take my wallet.
And that's kind of what's like, God damn it, I don't need to buy that.
Because when they're on the wall, it's typically more expensive.
Yeah, I don't even want to buy that in a way. I don't need to buy that. But I'll be goddamned if I'm walking out of that store without it.
Because it's just going to sit. It's just going to sit there.
What shop was it? Do you remember?
Pharmacy.
Oh, right on.
Records. Yep. And the icing on the cake, this one does come with a reproduction of the 7-inch single.
If you hold that position, because Jay in the comments saying if I would hold up the one with the face right here, it's like who wins the ugly contest? Like pretty close.
That's awesome.
We've got a competition.
Paint that guy green. It could be Randy's grandpa.
So a lot of times I don't go for these sorts of things. I'm like, what they put on record is enough for me. I don't need to go and like dig into all the demos and shit like that. It's partially a way of keeping the collecting under control, but it's also because a lot of the times it's just not worth the effort and money that you have to lay out for that shit. That record is an exception. That thing is totally worth having.
Yeah, I agree on all counts.
Yeah.
A lot of these anthologies that come out, it's cool that the band gets some more of their stuff put out. But a lot of times I play them and the sound quality is half shit and most of the songs are half baked. And it's just like, I didn't need to hear this. I just really didn't. But yeah, this one, these demo tracks are fully formed, fleshed out songs that are really, really good.
Awesome.
And my favorite example of that is Hollow Ground, actually, because that single and the songs on Rock Snacks were so good and so perfect. But like the extra stuff that's on the compilation that got put out since, it's like, why that stuff stayed on the cutting room floor.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, there's so many examples of that. And it's why I don't sit here and vacuum up all those anthologies that come out because it's cool that they're getting released, but man, a lot of them, the material's just not really that strong.
And I already have a lot of second-rate records.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, how many of those do you need? You get to a point where it's just like, shit, I don't need to buy more. It's why something like the Latent Fury I showed earlier is like a really nice surprise. All the stuff on that is really, really good.
I may say something, since I found out like Randy's on Spotify, it's been getting me through the workday,
Awesome. Good deal. But I'm just going to sit here and hug my Lettuce Man record for a minute while Marty wraps up with his final picks for the night.
All right. Well, I keep circling back to this record, and it's really good. There's, of course, power metal from Sweden. It's become a thing. There's so many bands from that area, typically ranging around a handful of musicians. But this band has members of Crystal Eyes and Vicious Rumors in it, called Sacred. This is Fire to Ice. This came out on Storm Spell. We mentioned them. Rick mentioned them earlier. This album, you go to the Discord server, go click the link below, check out our Discord server. Fun, good conversation all week long. They all seem to really love this. And I would say out of the bunch of power metal CDs I'm acquiring from Sweden, this really is kind of a standout. Everybody's saying European power metal. I listen to this, I hear Iron Flame, which obviously Andrew is probably influenced by that style a bit, but it's really good. They've got a really good singer. The music is really well written. There's a bonus track on here, Queensryche. So, and they kind of nail it. So, I mean, you kind of see what you got going on here. Beards aplenty. Enjoy it. This is definitely a solid album for the year. Did this come out this year? I think it did. I can't read the text. Next up, my buddy Jack was over last week helping package pre-orders, and we were talking about crossover. He'd never heard the Crumbsuckers, so I pulled out some Crumbsucker CDs, Life of Dreams, Beast on My Back. Good New York crossover. You know, they're a band that could have sounded like New York hardcore. They could have went the Cro-Mags route, which definitely has a bit of metal spiced in with the hardcore, but this is really solid crossover. You got members of this went on to start the band Propane, which I was never a big fan of Propane, but Crumbsuckers were technical, good, solid, crunchy crossover hardcore. Good mix. And for the last one, I will show. Is this the last one? Yeah, this is the last one. Crawl. This is Construct, Destroy, Rebuild. I remember getting this promo back when it came out and thinking this band arose from the ashes of the often overlooked band called Womb from the Wisconsin area, which was industrialized death metal. They were really good. It's like an EP they put out. I loved it. It was kind of like the blueprint for my first band, Prosthesis, which was industrialized death metal. Had drum machines, all that shit.
That's a good name, dude.
The band broke up and then restructured themselves as the band Crawl. When I got this as a promo, I was disappointed. There was something about it I didn't like. Well, this turned up. I found it on eBay a week ago for cheap. I'm like, well, shit, I need to check that out because I've been listening to a lot of industrialized metal. Picked it up. The music on this is really fucking good. They did a really good job mixing metal, heavier sort of pseudo death metal with industrial, some interesting synth lines, some interesting programming. The thing that kind of bugs me about this is the vocals. It isn't the death metal style. There's kind of more of a hardcore yelling, which as you get about 3 songs in, you're used to it. It's fine because the music's so interesting. But the vocals were what turned me off initially. I'm glad I got the CD was still sealed too. I got it for like $5. It's worth having. I got all the Crawl stuff now. They put out 2 albums, and between this and the Womb shit, definitely a cool thing if you're into that mechanized metal shit to check out. From, I think they're from Wisconsin. I want to say Green Bay, but that might be wrong.
Who put that out?
This came out on Olympic Recordings and Overture Records. Yep. Yeah. Fun stuff. Good, well programmed. Sounds really good too. The production's really vibrant. So I mean, yeah, I mean they knew what they were doing. I just didn't like the hardcore yelling on it, which I don't mind hardcore vocals, but in this context, it just didn't work. But again, you get used to it pretty quick. Well, yeah, that is it. Gentlemen, you rule. You both rule. And thank you for joining us. And
appreciate it so much.
Always fun hanging out with both of you.
What's that?
Between the 4 of us, there's a good mix of stuff, I thought.
I think so. Yeah. Mm-hmm. My listening has been all over the place, which has been kind of refreshing. It's been a refreshing reset for sure. Bauhaus. I'm loving Bauhaus right now. I'm really enjoying those 2 CDs I bought a lot. I've been listening to them a lot.
I kind of got more into them like middle of last year and had kind of the same reaction you did. I'm just like, wow, this is really, really good, and I haven't paid enough attention to it over the years.
I was always under the impression the best songs were always on volume 1 and volume 2, because whenever I would hear a full length, I'm like, the good songs I've already heard, the stuff that didn't make the best ofs aren't as good, but it's not true. It's all good. I'm enjoying it.
Well, they're one of those bands too that it seems like, as a lot of English bands did there in the early 80s, they have like a lot of B-sides and singles and stuff that were never on the albums. So you get those collections of stuff and it's like, yeah, it's got a lot of the tracks, but those tracks weren't on the actual records. So you get the records and it's like, oh, these songs are really good too. They weren't on those best of type things that came out.
Mark of the Wolf says we saw them a few years ago and it was awesome. I bought when it came out the Gotham live, the reunion video. It's fucking awesome. It is a great concert. Well choreographed.
That one's good.
Yeah. It's produced really well and the performance is outstanding. It's definitely go check out the Gotham live thing. Very good. And please people, Aaron the Metal Theologian's channel is only a handful of subs away from hitting the 3,000 landmark, which he has been doing this longer than we have. And if you've ever watched his channel, it's just like sitting down on the floor, showing a bunch of cool records you probably haven't heard of. And it's just a great channel. Go, please give him a bump. Let's get him to 3,000. And of course, our friend and designer, Rick, over at the Dreadful Minutes. Please go check out the Dreadful Minutes. Great channel as always. He does a lot of awesome streams, a lot of great content. And he is, of course, a contributor here on Heavy Metallurgy. And he designed our logo for us, in which we have patches now. Go spend $6 and put this on your Battle West.
Looks great.
They turned out really, really good.
I was just wondering, like earlier today, who had designed your logo. I had no idea it was Rick. Well, right on.
Rick did the design for it. We try to keep it within the family. We're going to be probably doing some T-shirts again soon. I just need to decide on a new artist. So I need to research that. Coffee mugs are kind of up in the air. People seem to like the idea. I'm having it's outside of my wheelhouse, and I want them to be good. And we'll see what happens with the coffee mugs. But anybody have anything to add? Rick, Aaron, you got anything to want to plug coming up?
If you're not subscribed to Rick, you're probably a chode.
Exactly.
Well, I can't take all the credit. It's the Saturday Slate crew. So you guys do your Fridays, we do the Saturdays. So we don't cross streams, I guess you could say, literally.
Yep.
So some of the people in the chat who usually join in, it's fun. We do mostly the hangs. We try to do the topical stuff when we can, and sometimes that goes off the rails, but it's still fun. It's a good time anyway.
And lastly, but not leastly, we definitely need to talk about Let's Talk Metal. This guy, Allan, my co-conspirator in crime here at Heavy Metallurgy, has got his own channel, Let's Talk Metal, and he is a dedicated uploader on Tuesdays. What did you just do? I have not had time to watch it. And what do you got coming up on this Tuesday?
Oh, let's take a quick check and see, because I'm pretty sure, I hope I've already uploaded something.
Plans ahead and shit.
Sorry, this will take just a second. It's on one of these folders over here. We've done some new wave of British heavy metal singles recently that folks enjoyed. Here we go. I've done a bunch of videos lately that I've just kind of banked, so I'm getting a little mixed up on which ones I've already posted and which ones I haven't. But yeah, we did some new wave of British heavy metal singles. I picked up a few random cheap singles recently. One of them being sort of a death rock band, some different stuff. And actually I don't have something posted for Tuesday yet. Well, let's make a call here and now. What do I got to choose from? Maybe we'll do this one. I have one called Forgotten Lore. That might be interesting. We'll check that out Tuesday, I think. Forgotten Lore on Let's Talk Metal for this coming Tuesday.
Right on. Please go subscribe to Let's Talk Metal. Allan is the grease that keeps these wheels rolling for sure. And
I'm greasy.
He's greasy. And he does it great over on his channel. And show notes. Jurgen is submitting a review tomorrow. I don't remember. Sijin?
Sijjin. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yep. So you get to see Jurgen's beautiful face on this channel again, and Allan's got a
the
review.
Album's called Hellish Combat.
Yeah.
They're
Allan's
like a modern answer to Morbid Angel to me.
right. Allan's got a review I'm posting next week. I'm hoping to do something. I have not even looked at promos, so I've been the editing guy here lately, folks. So I'll get my thoughts on one of these times. Other show notes Wednesday, the Album Club will be talking about Warlords Deliver Us. And next Friday, don't know yet, but you know what? This week we dropped 3 new reviews, 1 interview, and 2 streams. So I guarantee you folks are behind because I see the numbers. So go check it out. Lots of stuff to catch up on this week from Heavy Metallurgy. Go check out our friends. Links in the description. See you next week. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Good, everyone.